Good afternoon. Call the meeting of the Liberty County Board of Commissioners to order. It's good to see everyone. Once again, everyone, as we say in the church, everyone's fellowshipping. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. We have so much to be thankful for in spite of all that's going on. And we have to press on. We have to press on my soapbox. Now, the people, when you're elected to lead, that's what you have to do. You have to lead, and it's not always peaches and cream. Is that right, Mr. Brown?
Correct.
It's not always peaches and cream, but you have to push on. So in fact, we're honored to have been selected to lead, and we try to do our very best. Do we get it right all the time? No, we don't. But it's not because we're not trying or that we don't have the people's interests in our hearts and minds. So thank you for, I see some of our county folk and others. Thank you for being here and for what you do every day. If I may be personal just a minute, Mr. Johnson, I see the advertisement of your position after several years. Commissioner Giller, I don't think he's taking it back. See, I thought it was getting to his heart, y'all. I thought it was getting to his heart. He says no. He says no. It's been an honor to work with you, sir, and others in the audience, too, have given so much to Liberty County. Hello to those of you who are watching us Facebook Live. Thank you for keeping up with us. This is our mid-month meeting. We'll try to be respectful of your time and those who are in the audience today, and we'll move on in that effort. We're going to ask Mr. Mosley to come and lead us in our prayer. If you will, please, sir, remember Tom Hines, the mayor from Allenhurst, who passed away. And let's see who I was to attend the visitation from Miss Gloria Boyd.
Gloria Boyd.
Your district. Want to just let him do that too? Ms. Gloria Boyd. Tom Hines and Gloria Boyd. Okay. Let us stand now for our invocation.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we are so thankful and blessed. Father God, we thank you for the sunshine as well as the rain that has cooled the earth and has provided us with what we need. Father God, we want to petition on behalf of Mayor Hines and also Sister Boyd, Father God. We pray for that family as they grieve the loss of a loved one. We pray for your divine wisdom and insight tonight as this body deliberate on business that will further and advance this community. We pray that you be with them and give them what they need. This we thank you for in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the
Republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
How was that, Commissioner Gillett?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I heard that Mr. Moses was a reverend down here on Sundays. Is your sermons short like that? Because I might switch congregations.
Something going on right there.
What happened?
They're not short.
Some of the churches I go to, we get out at 1 o'clock, but it's the next day.
They don't do that. All right, awards and presentations. Youth program, I know we have Mr. Mosley and Mr. Murray is here, so we will yield to them. And I know the certificates, yeah, you have the certificates, right, sir? All right. You want to lead in?
Yes, sir. Would you y'all like to come down, be part of the presentation?
Well, you know we would. We would. Come on,
Did you say the
Commissioner, let's
youth?
go to-
The youth?
I was just noticing Commissioner Fraser is not here.
I didn't want to steal your thunder.
He's probably coming. He's got to make that grand.
Well, we're going to present to, oh, that's it. I left my note.
Huh?
Right down. Let's see. Let me do it. Let's see. It's Mia Fairnow. Will you please stand?
Wait, it just shut off?
We recognize Ms. Fairnow for her time with the Liberty County Youth Commission. She's was recruited by Mr. Sprinkle to become part of the inaugural class of the Liberty County Youth Commission. She's been very faithful, quiet-spoken, but very reflective and intelligent. Just graduated from Bravo, yeah, go BI. She is furthering her education, will be matriculating at Georgia State University in Atlanta, Georgia, I guess very soon. Majoring in psychology. Her goal is to become a psychologist. Ms. Mia Fairnow. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, we wanted to recognize all those individuals, and that's mostly all these folk over here, who played a tremendous role in the summer youth employment program that you guys graciously funded. And so the first group will be the mentors, and then after that will be individuals that aren't here, and then we want to recognize a couple of people. We're going to surprise them.
All right, well, I'll just go ahead and project my voice. It's not, I don't think I need a mic. But first of all, I just want to thank Mr. Mosley and all the commissioners, Mr. Joy, for giving me the opportunity to work with the youth. Second go around this year, I had fun with it. Everybody was a great influence on the kids. And I just appreciate the loving environment that we have here as well, too. And everybody just willing to want to work with the youth. So we had a great time this year. So number one on the list that we have that's going to be coming today to accept the certificate of appreciation, we have Miss Karen Bell. Y'all give me a hand clap over here. Miss Karen, you know, she was over there with Keep Liberty Beautiful, and the here you go, Chairman. She really was a great influence on those kids. I think we gave her 3 kids this year. We gave her 3 kids this year. So they had a great time out there, and they learned something. They was excited about, of course, getting their paychecks as well too. So, so we just want to thank Ms. Karen Bell. All right. So next we have Mr. Brian Darby. I'll give him a hand clap as he comes up here. The Chief Darby. Oh yeah, hey, look, I don't think so. Mr. Darby, you know, he was very influential to my boy Travis and his sister. They was over there at the fire department, and one thing that was stood out to the most to them was he was feeding them, so he made sure they ate good. So they always was happy about that. Everybody wants to work for you. Everybody want to work with Brian. Everybody want to work with Brian. Next we have on the list, we have Mr. Robert Dye. Y'all give him a hand clap.
Did you have them chasing storms?
Oh man, not really, but they had fun with Mr. Dodd too. I mean, I think he was feeding them as well too. So he said no. But yeah, so we appreciate you, Mr. Dodd. He, like I said, he helped us a lot, even with the CPR training that we had as well too. Next we have Mr. Steve Marrero. Y'all give him a hand. Mr. Steve, you know, he was very energetic as well. He helped out with the sessions that we had during the program. We had Mr. Justin Fraser just coming in. Y'all give me that clap. I see. But yeah, man, yeah, Steve, yeah, he gave us donuts as well too when we had our field trip, and the kids really enjoyed him as well and his energy. So we appreciate
I can't resist it. Who let the dogs out? I'm gonna go check.
Next we have Miss Glenda Roberts. We gave her a guy this year, you know, pretty much the life of the party, you know. So I know he was a pretty challenge on her this year, but we gave her somebody that we knew that she would discipline and make sure that he's on the right track. So,
I did.
yeah, tough job. So thank you, Miss Glenda. Thank you.
You made it.
Thank you. So I believe those were the mentors. I think we have some more coming. Next we have let me go ahead and go here. Next we have Mr. Clint Stanley. I'll give him a hand clap. Mr. Clint, you know, he was over there at IT. We gave him 2 young boys who pretty much had, you know, pre-knowledge to, you know, about technology and stuff like that. So he had a pretty easy job with them. So I know he probably didn't have to do much. He just gave them some work to do. They did it. So I know they had fun with that. So we appreciate you, Mr. Clint. Appreciate you. All right. Next, we have Miss Rhonda Walkower. Ms. Rhonda, she was over there along with Mr. Camilla, or I'm going to present her in a minute, but Ms. Rhonda, you know, she made sure those kids worked over there, you know what I mean? She made sure those kids worked over there at the Board of Registration. One thing they always said that Ms. Rhonda always had something for them to do, so they didn't get no time off. Next we have Miss Laura Woodward. Miss Laura, she was over there in HR. She had a bright young lady, Miss Jada, and she was very smart. So Miss Laura, she just had to assign things as well too. She didn't have to pretty much do much. But we just happy that she was able to help out again this year and really lead Jada to be, you know, who she is today. I believe she learned a lot from the program this year. So we appreciate you, Ms. Laura. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Okay. Yes. So next we have Mr. Jerry Johnson. Y'all give him a hand. Jerry, I know this is your last year, man. I know this is your last year.
He knew.
He knew.
Got a little faster.
Yes,
just
sir.
now.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Mr. Jerry, he was very. He had a young guy who was very. You know, he's a stand-up guy. You know, definitely at school as well too. He had bright grades, and he was able to lead him as well to learning about building maintenance. You know, when he found out he had to go to building maintenance, he really didn't want to at first, but Mr. Jerry made sure that he had a good time there. So that's what it's all about. So appreciate you. Appreciate you. Let me see where I'm gonna go. Now I'm gonna go to some of the people that helped us out during the interview. So one of the ones, and also chaperone as well too. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to Miss Carmela Orr. Y'all give her a hand clap. Miss Carmela Orr was over there. She was over there at the not Texas Assessors, but voters registration with Ms. Rhonda, and they teamed up to make sure that our kids were working. So we appreciate you, Ms. Orr. And she also volunteered on the field trip that we had as well too. So we appreciate you for that, Ms. Orr, and all the help that you have gave us. Yes, and next we have Ms. Kim Mclaughlin. Yeah. Miss Kim, I think you did a lot.
I helped with the interview.
Yeah, you did help with the interview.
That was a spur of the moment thing. Mr. Mosley said, "We're short." I said, "But it's Saturday." He said, "I'm bringing biscuits."
Oh, yeah. Miss Kim was she was very fun. I remember one thing that stood out about the program, we had her come in and they had to critique her, what she had on, her business attire, and they got her bad too, so. They got her bad. So I know she liked it. Okay. And next we would have Miss Erica Smith. I believe I have her. Right here, there we go. Miss Erica also, she helped out with yeah, she helped out with interviewing as well too. I believe, was I in there with you, Miss Erica? Yeah, I was in there. I was able to. We were able to help, pick some great young people. So that was fun teaming up with her during the interview process. So thank you, Miss Erica. All right, so now I'm going to announce some that are not here due to prior commitments. We have Mr. Jimmy Martin. He was over there at the rec department. He was able to help us out this year, get 2 interns. So that was fun. So we just give Mr. Jimmy a hand clap. We also have Miss Tiffany Smith. She's not here as well to do the prior engagement. She was over there at Fire and EMA helping out with those 2 young individuals over there. Oh, the DA's office. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a different Tiffany. Yeah, you're right. Appreciate you. We have Miss Patty Bratcher. She was here with us as well the whole summer. She was able to, get me and Mr. Mosley centered, because sometimes we get off track a little bit, but she made sure that we were centered and make sure we were doing what we need to do for the young people. So she was definitely an asset to us this summer as well too. And then last but not least, we have none other than Mr. Joey Brown.
What that got to do?
Man, Mr. Joey, he'll pop in every now and then. It always felt good to see him in there because I look at him as the top dog of the building. So to see him walk in and check on the youth and just give words of encouragement anytime that he could, that meant a lot too, to see him in there as well. And that's all we have today as far as the presentation. So I just want to tell y'all, we appreciate y'all for the program, and we look forward to calling y'all back next year. So I hope y'all accept our call when we call y'all. So thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much. Yes, sir.
I'm reminded of my days I spent in the Board of Education some years ago. We would do school visits, visit all those classrooms, different schools, different times. And you talk to a lot of students, many more students, certainly than board members. Years later, some of those students remembered that we came to their room. Those students you serve, they won't forget. They won't forget. So thanks for a great job. You know the impact that you make. You may forget, but they won't forget. They'll say, "Oh yeah, I interned with you, or you have interviewed me," those kind of things. So appreciate you for what you do. Thank you, sir. That's it. Thank you, sir. Who's buying dinner? Cheeks over.
That's like Chief Harvey.
good. That was good.
I think somebody's coming here moving it down. Huh? I gotta go see Pat. We maybe have to ride out there and see Pat tomorrow.
You ready, gentlemen? All right. Thank you, Mr. Mosley and Mr. Murray. Finance, Ms. McLaughlin.
I know I missed you last month. We actually just finished closing the year and the month of July. We had 2 years open at the same time. The month of July and August are always a little challenging for us, but let me just share with you the results of your fiscal year 2021, which ended up wonderful. So at the end of 2021, we actually received about $1.6 million more in revenue than we budgeted. So fantastic. The majority of that is related to sales tax, actually, because sales tax just took off. I mean, completely took off, and we ended up getting much more than we had budgeted, and I think that had to do with the online sales, the taxing of online sales that took place. In your expenditures, you actually saved 1.7. So we did not exceed your budgeted expenditures. We only spent about 95.6%. So in total, you ended up with about $3.3 million that you will add to fund balance, which is really good, really good. Now, when the auditors come in, of course, there's going to be some adjustments that they make because there are some departments that maintain some of their own cash accounts and records and stuff like that. So they'll go out to those individual offices, like the DA's office and the clerk of court and the jail and that sort of thing, and they'll bring that stuff back, import it into our system, and then you'll get a final result. But right now, we are looking at a little over $3 million that you're going to add to fund balance.
Wow,
So
wow.
that's awesome. It's awesome. And part of that also, if you'll remember, includes the $1 million in the CARES money that you received in fiscal year 21. So all in all, a great year.
Well, even with, help me out, Commissioner Thrift, if we take out the CARES money,
You're still $600,000 over your budgeted revenue.
yeah,
You're great.
we're doing good.
We're doing very well. If you flip over to the next page to see your balance sheet, we have approximately 5.2 months worth of operational expenditures in your undesignated and unreserved fund balance, and it was about 5.6 months worth of operational expenditures this time last year. I think there's two things that kind of dropped it a little bit, although we're very close to what we were last year. For one, your new budget is higher. We went from like 38 million to 41 million, so of course your monthly expenditures are going to be higher. And then if you'll take note, if you look down in the fund balance section where we've designated some stuff, you'll see the estimated pension shortfall for the past several months. We've had a reserve of about $500,000. We just did receive our actuarial report, and we're about $2 million, a little over $2 million short. We will be reviewing that report with the actuary next week to go over kind of what's driving some of that, what some of the changes were, because as you remember, last year we increased the defined benefit contribution from 6% to 8%. So I was really kind of surprised to see it come in that high. Especially knowing what our revenues have done and what sales tax has done and kind of looking at the market. So it probably is something to do, again, with the aging tables, the mortality tables, and even maybe some of the pay increases that were given out last year to kind of drive up that funding. We still are not at 75%. We're at about 62%, I believe. We need to get to 75%. We're working our way there. The last few years, I want to say maybe the first year, we ended up sending in like 3.2 million. And the next year, I think it was like 1.8 million. Then it was another 1.3 million, and now looks like it's going to be 2 million. So hopefully, hopefully as things get back to normal, and then we see some of the people fall out of the program, those will come down. But we are going to review it next week to try and find out what's driving that. If you go over to the next 2 pages, this is what Commissioner Stevens had kind of indicated last time that he wanted to see. And there are basically 3 departments that ended up, after it's all said and done, exceeding their budget. Every other department had some savings, but there were 3 departments. The first one is Judicial Administration. This is where we capture all of the court reporting, and there is a significant amount of court reporting, especially in the juvenile cases. So that went over about $8,500. And then juvenile court, they ran over as well, and that was because of the court-appointed attorneys required for some of those juvenile cases. And then finally, the last area that went over budget was in your other financing uses. And this was for a couple of things. This other financing uses department is where we actually charge the operating transfers out to recreation, to 911, to the multiple grant fund, to Right Arm Airfield, or to any other fund that can't sustain itself. So this year, recreation needed a little bit more than we had originally budgeted because, of course, we shut down their programs. Additionally, I think when we went through the budget process, I might have told y'all we were going to merge the recreation fund into the general fund. Well, up to the point of last year, the recreation fund actually owed the general fund about $390,000. So in order for us to pull the recreation fund into the general fund, we actually had to charge off that debt. So we had to, because a fund that doesn't exist anymore can't owe the general fund $394,000. So we went ahead and captured that, eliminated that debt. So that's why that has run over. However, all of the other departments actually had savings. The biggest savings was actually in the purchasing department. And that's where we keep all of the funding for your new personnel and your capital items until such time that those things actually take place. So throughout the year, if there is something, if there are employees that are going to be hired or things that are going to be purchased, as they are, I move the money into that department. The bulk of the savings that we earned from that was because we did not need to move that money into the fire department because we couldn't get the firefighters. We're still working on getting those firefighters. As you recall, last year we budgeted for 18, but at the end of the year we still hadn't hired all those 18 new people. Again, you've got 18 more people budgeted this year, so we won't move that money in until we get those employees in. So you had savings in personnel services and benefits, salaries and benefits. Other departments that had significant savings was actually in risk management. We had budgeted for a couple of things like workers' comp. We actually ended up getting a refund. Instead of having to pay out $50,000 to $60,000, we actually got a refund for $45,000. There was also some savings in a couple of the other benefits that are charged to that department. When we have lawsuits and all that we have to pay out, we didn't have to pay out as much this year. So you had a big savings in risk management. And when you go on down, the next biggest savings was actually in fire services. And again, there was a piece of equipment, I want to say somewhere around $135,000 that we've had on order for several months, but we can't get it in. So we ended up not spending it, so that was a savings in his department. And then I think the road department also had a significant amount of savings, about $148,000. And again, you can see where you have the remaining balance in those columns. You can see where everybody ended up and the savings that they added back to the general fund. Now, before we actually send everything, all of our trial balances to the auditors, I'll end up taking some of that purchasing money that's sitting there in that department, and I'll go ahead and cover the shortfalls in those other 3 departments so we don't end up with any findings from the state for budget overruns. Your solid waste operations actually ended up with $146,000 net income, which is great. Doing exactly what we need to do. Let's see, there was one department, the recycle operations, they ran slightly over budget, about $1,700, but the other 3 departments within the solid waste operations were able to cover that, so that they generated about $163,000 of savings, which contributed then to the $146,000 net income. Your other special revenue funds, 911, victim witness, child support, recreation, record service center, all operated under their budget, so they all came in with a savings. When you look at sales tax, again, doing wonderfully. If you go to the 3rd page of your sales tax, you can see the actual collections. And for the month of June, we actually received a little over $1 million. So to date, we are actually, I want to say, $2.1 million, almost $2.2 million ahead of schedule, which is super. This program actually stops collecting in March of 2023, and we're already $2 million ahead of schedule in sales tax 6, so really doing well. And then your T-Splost, again, if you look at the collections on that, we received $941,000 for the month of June. Fantastic again. And this month, well, you'll see in July is the first month that we actually come out of the red on those budget figures. So fiscal year 21 was, I mean, with all the trials and everything we had to go through with COVID and shutting down programs and doing all these extra things that we had to do to meet all these requirements for safety and everything, it turned out to be a great year for us financially. So if you don't have anybody have any questions on the June results?
Want
Yes,
to
sir.
make sure that the money that came from District 6, where's that money showing at now? That came from Commissioner Wallen to go toward the Miller Park. Where is that money showing at?
So I understand that he had originally kind of tossed out a number, but I don't believe we were going to actually commit or obligate any money to that until the project was actually awarded. And then once we saw what the price was, then we were going to determine who wanted to contribute what from their road money. So at this point, I haven't obligated anything of District 6 for Miller Park.
What money has been spent on Miller Park?
I'm sorry, what money has been spent?
Yeah.
I'd actually have to run, this report combines everything that was spent on recreation, so I would actually have to go run a separate report just for Miller Park to tell you what has been spent to date on Miller Park, so I can do that. I'll make a note of that and actually send that to you, because this just gives a combined total of all recreation projects. But as I understand, did we just put that out for bid, or has it?
It's out for bid now.
It's out for bids. So, yeah, I'm not sure what that Miller Park will cost. And I think once you see the cost, you'll actually then be able to determine how much of your road money you may want to contribute.
So what we're looking at then, Kim, on the sales tax report, we're seeing recreation here. It shows other revenue, $177,000. Expense to date, $1,181,000. Obligated, $567,000.
That's correct. So if you look, I've got notes. So under the other revenue for the 177, if you'll look down there at note B, these are funds moved from $147,000 from District 4 for Gill Park, which was committed, I think, well over a year ago. $30,000 from District 2 for the basketball courts near the recreation office. So those are the things that are those are the other revenue. Then if you look at note number 3 for the obligated, what's obligated are the Gill Park additions, the basketball court improvements, and the ADA requirements.
Once we get the bid on a project is when we go in and make an obligation. We don't do it based on an estimate, because that wasn't working out so good.
Estimates change.
So rather to be sure, we wait until the actual bid's received and awarded by the board, then I'll let Kim know what's been awarded.
And then I make the obligation.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, Joy, you're saying, let's just say the bid comes in at X number of dollars, $500,000, but we've already got money expended for that project already. And in that project, we had decided to put, of course, now you said we've seen the concept. I don't remember seeing the concept plan. It was on the board here the other night.
Yeah, twice, yes, sir. It was here, I think it was last month for the last time, and that's when we had the discussion about the money.
But you've seen it on the board to show us what it looked like?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. It was shown by itself and also with the Miller Park Fire Station at the same time in conglomerate.
And that's when we talked about,
What to put aside, and that's when we said, let's go ahead and bid it out so that we can determine what that hard amount will be that everybody needs to contribute.
well, I know, but we had talked about what money was gonna be used from recreation, what money was gonna be used for the road going into the fire department, that was gonna be fire department money, and solid waste money.
That's right.
And then the turning lane was gonna be,
Unfunded as of this point, but, right. We just had a meeting yesterday with the state on that, as a matter of fact, to show them the concept. It'll be a little over $1 million on its own, the road improvements.
well, I know when we had talked about it, you know, there was I wanted to specifically ask where the ADA parking spots was at, and we didn't have nothing to look at. I mean, that's what I was, and I could have slept through it. I'm not gonna say that I
No,
didn't.
it was, but it wasn't to the detail that you could zoom in on the parking spots. And Trent commented at the time how many were projected in there, and I think what y'all said was we need to make sure there's more.
Right.
He said, yes, I'll go back and take another look at what's already programmed so we can make sure there are more.
Well, and that's something that's important, that, I mean, what you're hearing is people that wanna know what is it gonna look like? Well, I mean, you know, this PDF that was out there the other night at Buckley was pretty thorough. It told you the entrances and the exits. It told you the green space, the parking and all of that, and that's the one that,
It's all, Trent's got that detail on that plan.
and that was the one shown the other night? I didn't think it was shown the other night.
No, well, not to that,
Huh?
2 months ago. Yeah.
We saw the basketball courts and
Playground
playground.
layouts,
Okay.
everything.
You saw that?
Mr. Chairman, I had a question for Ms. Kim. I wanted to make sure that I'm looking at this correct. On the sales tax 6, District 3, so I have that number there, 240
That's correct.
remaining.
That's-
And then, okay, go.
No, go ahead.
And then on T-Splost, and I think it's 2 pages over,
Uh-huh.
I have 275 available,
Yes, ma'am.
and that's it?
That was into June,
That's at the end of
and
June.
then the other one, July, you'll have.
Then we look over here at this one.
Right, and that's July.
Mayab Road, okay. Yeah, that's the only 2 pots that I have.
Yeah,
Well, Mr. Chairman's got a pot.
that's correct.
Don't forget our meeting.
You've been hanging around.
Well, you know. Okay.
Right, and you can see, I mean, and even on sales tax 6, like under the chairman's, he had obligated $80,000 to go towards Yeoman's Road.
Yeah, that's all I got out of it.
I'm working on this.
All he got.
Just that one meeting. Okay. All right, thank you. I'll keep-
Sharon is caring.
I'll keep my eye on that.
Okay. Any other questions on your year-end?
When you did, Mr. Chairman, I have one more question on the year end. About what was the, and I may have missed that, the percentage rate of sales tax collected? What would that have been as the revenue?
Well, I didn't
don't have that
isolate just sales tax. I grouped all the sales tax together, and as your sales tax out of the actual $40 million that you received, 31.5 was some form of taxes, either sales tax, property tax, TAV tax.
That's all grouped in.
That's all
revenue
grouped together, and,
taxes?
yeah. Now, I could always provide you a detailed printout. Now, it will have every single line item revenue,
That's fine.
but this kind of rolls up, here's all your taxes,
complete.
here's all your charges for service, your fines and forfeitures. But taxes was a very significant, taxes in total.
Total was an increase?
Yes.
Okay, all right. That's all the questions I had. Very good job. Like you said, for this year and everything we went
This year,
through.
it really, really was.
We can get those firefighters employed, onboarded.
Yeah.
So the ADA money, Kim, and the money that Commissioner Stevens and I agreed on, I don't see it where it says other revenues down there on the bottom.
Okay, so there aren't any monies, there's no revenues for the ADA. That's an obligation.
Right.
So that would be in the obligated fund. I mean, that's in the obligated column. That's part of that 567,000,
Right.
okay? Now, like I said, even though you threw out a figure, and I don't remember what it was, 80,000 or 100,000, that you wanted to contribute to Miller
200,000.
Park. I don't, 200, what is that, I don't know.
Well,
We can go ahead and book it, I mean, absolutely.
no, I'm just
Yeah, we can go ahead
saying,
and
I
do it.
wanted to make sure that we talked about two things. And that's the part that I'm unsure of, and the two things was the ADA, I had obligated money for that, and I had obligated 200,000 for Miller Park.
Let's go ahead and show.
Okay.
And
I
I mean,
did
that
not-
ain't in here, and that's what I wanted to
No,
make sure.
right.
Yeah,
We
I
were
did not
gonna
know
wait,
you
but we'll go
obligated
ahead.
money for ADA.
He did.
I did not know that.
Let's go ahead and show the 200 for the Miller Park.
Then the rest of us were gonna chip in,
And only for Miller Park.
right, help make it work.
And how much did you want to contribute for the ADA?
It was $80,000, I'm almost.
Okay, for ADA, okay.
Right.
ADA, okay. I can certainly do that. I can move that money from your district, I can obligate it, and then I can show it as other revenue for recreation, so that it'll help towards Miller Park,
Miller Park only.
whatever that turns out to be, and then 80,000 for the ADA improvements. That's great.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I'll make sure that that goes on your August report.
Any other questions for Ms. McLaughlin?
Now, if I can get,
And
if I
then
can
give
get
me a-
about that same amount from the chairman, I'll be all right.
He's working with me on a
And I do want to let you know that the Sequoia Circle, that I think the chairman and Commissioner Gillard you had obligated 25,000, that has now been paid and charged. So you won't see it obligated anymore, because it's actually an actual expense to you now.
That was a project.
That's
with-
already taken care of.
Keith Jenkins.
Yeah. That was a piece.
Yeah, I went out there, I hadn't seen where they spent it.
Really? Yeah.
Well, they billed us for it.
Let me ask you another
sent us a
question.
bill.
How about the one that we, Commissioner Gillard and I piggybacked with, Welborn Street?
Yes, so you have now completely paid your contribution and more, and we will need to, this is so convoluted, we will need to bill the city of Hinesville to get that money back, so that you only are charged for what you obligated. Because right now, I think in total you had obligated like 198,000 or 196,000. It was something like $68,000 apiece. Well, it's gone over that now, and I've already sent a note to the city of Hinesville that they need to send us anything over that amount. I haven't heard from them yet, so.
We need to.
Going over there tomorrow, I'll bring it back.
Okay, I just kind of raised my hand to say, hey, okay, we're going over what we obligated, but I I'm not sure, they're doing the project?
No,
We're doing the
it ran
project.
through our contract, right?
Okay, so it's,
Simonton.
it's our project, but it's in the city, and so we only obligated up to that amount, and everything else, that's what I thought, we'll build the city
We
for.
should build the city for the difference.
So, is it pretty close to being done? So that we can maybe just send them one final bill?
I think it's done. I think they did project closeout and everything. If
In-
not, they're
in
waiting on the last
August?
grass stand, but
It's done.
I'll double check and make sure.
Okay.
Kim,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Brown,
Yes, sir.
something else just ran across me. On this drought study that was did, well, come to about, what was it, about 12,000?
I'm not aware of a drought study. Who,
I am.
okay.
Yeah, it's ISO.
All right,
It's ISO,
wasn't that
on
supposed to have
location.
been, shouldn't that should have been completed last year and come out of the budget? That, the 21 budget?
I mean, I don't know that it should have been completed last year. It just needed to be completed before to be turned into ISO.
Is it completed, or has it been
I'm
completed?
pretty sure they can.
Because I think,
When was it
I'm thinking it was in his, may have been in his budget.
It was.
It was in his budget, but if he turned that money back in,
Well, first, have we received a bill for it?
It's shown
Yeah,
on Trent's
yes.
bill. That's the drought study.
Oh, that's, okay.
what I'm saying, if it was supposed to go in the 2021 budget,
That was 100% done by Trent.
Right.
That has already been absorbed, probably in the general fund.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure I would have, would you?
Yeah, it
put that
needed-
under- Right. and I don't-
It needed to be absorbed in the general fund.
Right. So my
in the
guess
right
is
place.
it was probably under
so
general.
that wouldn't come out the
engineering, or
fire
it was-
budget.
Okay.
It did. It did come out of the fire budget.
There you go. So,
But what I'm saying, it should have come out shouldn't it have not come out the 2021 budget
It-
instead of this budget, the 21-22 budget?
Well, it depends on when the work was performed and the invoices were received.
well, if I'm hearing Trent right, he's already billed us for it.
Right, he's
so
already
it's
billed us
already
for it.
been charged.
But what I'm saying, shouldn't it have been done prior to the 2021 budget expiring?
Most of it was. I think the last bill is this last bill for August. Yeah.
So probably part of it was charged to 2021, and the remainder will be charged to 2022, because it has to do with when the actual expense was incurred. So if he did part of it in
No.
June, we charged that part to June, and if he did part of it in July, we charged it to your new fiscal year.
I think from what I looked at, it looked like it was all charged to the 21-22 budget. The present budget now, it wasn't non-charged
Oh,
prior to, so I guess,
I'd have to.
I guess the question is, I guess Mr. Long waited until he completed the job to charge all of it as it went along? So,
Progress bill.
so actually, it's more than 12,000.
Yeah, there was some I know that was on his invoice for June, May or June, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
What you do, go around with a bucket and dip up the water and look for it?
Had to go to each location and do the topo, and then also go to the property owners and draw up easements and obtain easements from the property owners of the ponds, and be able to present those as part of your ISO documentation.
So,
But we ought to have some of those already, haven't we?
No, sir. You had some old dry hydrants, but we're not talking about dry hydrants. You're talking about surveying every pond that may be available for water use for drafting with turbo draft, and basically identifying those water sources and going to every one of those owners.
I believe we got plenty of water right now. I mean, Clint's sitting back there, he tell you there's plenty of water.
okay, all right.
Well, I want to piggyback on what, or horsey back on him, whichever way we want to talk about it, but that's where I'm getting confused on, Kim, where I understand awarding and paying some of these out, but we're paying it out in arrears, or are we paying it out month by month? Or are we paying it out when the job's complete?
We're paying it out as we're getting billed for it. So when we receive a bill, we pay it.
Okay, and then Joey, you approve them, right?
I don't see all the bills, no, sir. No, sir.
What kind of,
I approve the project ahead of time. I see the budget and approve it ahead of time.
Okay.
So as those signed invoices come in, and they're signed by the county engineer, or, it depends on which project. If it's the Wright Army Airfield project, Mr. Brown signs it.
If it's a capital project, it comes through me.
Right, if it's a road thing, then county engineer signs it. So once I get a signed invoice approved, then yes, we pay it.
So are we, since we've done moved this money around here, are we right then with our numbers? You said we were more sales tax money, or are we shorter now? Since we just talked about this, we moved, I was under the impression the 200,000 was already sent over there. I mean, we talked about it back in January.
We talked about it 2 months ago when you saw the drawing, and we said in this chamber, we will not move the money anywhere until we bid the job to decide what the cost is gonna be, so we can see what everybody wants to commit. And that's when the board said, put it on the street, when you saw that drawing.
I think,
That's the last thing I
So
heard.
we
understand
have
that
not
part.
moved it, and we can move it, it's not a big deal, we'll go ahead and show it over
Yeah,
there, but.
I'll move it.
However y'all wanna do it, but absolutely, you discussed it.
well, right, but I'm saying when the project first came out, which was in January or February of this year, and that's when we talked about it, and we said, if we're gonna do this, how much time is it gonna take to get it going? And that was the whole reason I wanted to make sure there was money that I could help with the project.
Right.
And that's when Trent said, well, we got about 2 or 3 weeks of engineering.
That's right.
All right, and now we're fast forward to where we're at now, and that's why I want to make sure the money that I obligated is just coming out today. There's nothing been put in there since then.
Nothing's come out of your district since
Okay.
then. No, sir. Yeah, we're gonna go
Till
ahead
now.
now, and we'll go ahead and move that money over, and it'll show on your next report.
Okay.
It'll show your obligation over there.
Yeah.
And then when we bid the project, whatever else anybody else wants to kick in and stuff like that, that's what y'all had said you'd do, and
Right,
you can add to it. You're gonna need to add to it. So.
You're right, because I'm looking at July's report, and without taking away the 200,000 or the 80,000, you have $646,000 available. But I will, in your August report, obligate 80,000 for ADA and 200,000 for the Miller Park, so that you can have a more accurate amount of what you have available.
Right, and ADA is not started yet, right?
ADA has been started,
Oh, yeah,
yes.
ADA 's
It's
been
already.
started.
Where
we've
are we
already
at now with it?
Trent can maybe cover that in his report. I think he'll cover it when he comes.
Okay.
Yeah, because we've already paid some on the ADA.
Good deal.
All right?
It's all about the money. I don't mind telling you.
Okay. Sit on year end? Okay, so July should be pretty quick. We did close July as well, so a couple of things. Of course, in one month in, we've only received about 2% of our revenue, so, and we've expended about 77% of our expenditures, which is good, because 8% is exact target, so we're doing well. At the end of July, you've got 4.6 months worth of operational expenditures in your undesignated and unreserved fund balance. And 1 year ago, it was at 4.8 months. So we're real close. We're doing just fine. There are a couple of departments that pay a lump sum cost in the first month or two, so it kind of skews their budget. Data processing is responsible for paying some of the computer service agreements. I know the service agreement just for our financial software is, I think, somewhere around $38,000 a year. That has to be paid all at once at the very beginning of the year. So it's kind of skewed his budget. So it looks like his budget's running ahead of schedule. It is, because of that payment. Your general admin fees to Coastal Georgia Regional Development Center, we paid those all at once too. So there shouldn't be anything else coming out of that budget. Those are paid all at once up front. Superior Court, we pay the law clerk expenses all at once up front. So that'll skew that budget a little bit initially. And then Circuit-Wide Public Defender, there's actually 2 months of charges in July because they require a prepayment. You have to pay a month in advance. So we'll do a journal entry to move one of those payments into the prepaid, so that'll come back in line. And then the Sheriff's Department. So when you passed your budget, when you adopted your budget, there were 7 departments that belonged to the sheriff. And he took those departments and did a bunch of restructuring in the first 2 weeks of this fiscal year in July, and he combined those to make 5 departments. And in doing so, they completely restructured. However, during the first couple of weeks, the people who were originally captured in 3,300 were already being posted through payroll. Now, what used to be like 35 people in Department 3,300, there's now like 8. But for the first couple of payrolls in July, we hadn't had a chance to move all of those people so that the expenses could fall in line with the actual budget. In total, though, if you look at his total budget, he's doing fine. It's just in the salary line items, because of those postings, we haven't had a chance to move that money properly to match where the employees are.
But they all get paid the same time.
They're all getting paid at the same time, but they were being charged. If you're housed in 3,300, and now all of a sudden, you know, we're processing payroll, 2 payrolls, say, for 30-something, 35 people, for the first 2 payrolls in July, but then at the end of July, you say, well, you know what, we're gonna change the budget because we only want these 8 people. So we've already charged now those people, so now we've gotta move those expenses. Once we finally got the budget to where he wanted it to be, only charge these 8 people here, charge a whole bunch of people to what used to be narcotics, 3,320. They used to only have like 12 or 14. I think they have like over 50 now. So there was a lot of moving going around, but at the same time, it took us some time to restructure the budget, but we couldn't move all those people all at once like that, because that's a lot of moving in payroll and HR in the system to move them, because we had to go ahead and process payroll.
But it's the same money.
It's the same pot of money. Nobody got paid differently. We just moved the people. We changed the budget, but we had already processed payroll before they got those budget changes to us. So now that we've got the budget changes, we're able to go back and actually move some of those expenses to match what the budgets were. But when you're trying to close the fiscal year and still trying to operate the new year, it's tough, especially when you're taking 7 departments and you're combining them into 5, and you're moving everything, completely restructuring it. So they only have like 1 department that has fuel. In the past, they had 7 departments that had fuel. So it depends, you know, now all the fuel, whether you're a jailer, whether you're a detective, a patrol, you know, all your fuel gets charged to 1 department, not where you're actually housed. All your training and education is done like that too now.
And this narrative says that over the next couple of months, so it still would be, before you get it to where you want it, it still would be Thanksgiving or something like that.
Well, I can just tell you, because we're about to close August, and I've had somebody out for 10 days because of COVID. I have another person out on loan to solid waste because they're so short. So I've been running with about 4.5 people for the last month. And I can tell you right now, when you get your August report, I can't say for sure that we'll have those expenses moved yet. Because I kind of look at the sheriff in total. And we will move those expenses, but it's just gonna take Miss Audrey and myself a little bit more time. Because we just finished changing the budgets in July. And now here we are, in 2 weeks, we'll be closing August.
And it looks like he's changed the name of, like
Yes, he did.
narcotics is
Yeah,
now,
yes, so it used to be narcotics, and now it is,
What is that, Bureau of Standards?
yes, it's Bureau, it's actually called Bureau of Professional Standards, but in our software, it doesn't allow that many characters, so we just call it
professional,
Bureau of Professional Standards.
Professional
and
Standards.
what do they do?
Is that narcotic?
Everything.
Professional stuff.
And then there's Bureau of Patrol, and there's, now I can't.
Bureau of Patrol, is that like the deputies on the road?
I'm guessing so. I can't speak to their operations. I can just tell you how they wanted me to set it up.
Well, never mind.
Well, so
So
it says, do y'all have a narcotics department in your county? I'm like, no, but we got a Bureau of,
Professional.
Well, my guess is that narcotics and detectives are all grouped together in Bureau of professional standards, I'm
Sounds
guessing,
like-
but I don't know.
The government up in Washington or somewhere.
I,
Bureau. Anyway,
That's the FBI.
let me,
Well, Mr. Chair, let me ask you a question about what Kim's talking about here. I mean, it's obvious that, you know, sometimes people get jerked around from one place or another, and it is gonna take 6 months. What harm would it have been, I mean, the
Leave it alone.
Constitutional officer's got a 4-year term. What would have happened if you'd have moved it over? The money was the same, and he'd have formed that in February of next year. Would that have been any easier for you?
I personally think it's easier if he establishes what he wants now before you go into your next
Okay.
budget.
That's it then. That's all I want to know.
Sometime this
So you
fall.
can- Right.
Yes.
So you can handle it then.
Right, right, because then in the spring, when you go to send out your budgets, it's already configured the way he wants it. So, and when they wanted to do this last year, but there was so much going on, and they were really just trying to get in there and make sure they had everything they needed. And then when we went through the budget process, it would have been very difficult for you to do a comparison of those 7 to kind of what they wanted to do for 5. And really, it's going to happen this year too, because now they're going to have 5 departments, and last year they had 7. So I'm probably going to do the same thing I did and group things, not as department, but basically as categories. So salary and wages, benefits, purchase services, supplies, so that in total, you can kind of see what things are doing instead of trying to compare one department to another, because now you can't compare the departments anymore. You're not comparing the same thing. So,
Okay,
All right,
all right.
As long as you're not confused, we're good.
that's her skill set.
but that's kind of, those are the variances for the first month.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I was trying to, I mean, the money's, you budget so much for the sheriff's office. And I mean, I can see where he would want to put it, wherever he wants to put it at. I mean, it's just kind of like, you know, Mr. Pierce back here. He needs X number of dollars for his department. He can use it for a deputy coroner. He can use it for somebody that's gonna, you know, a pauper's grave or whatever. I mean, I don't understand, but I mean, I just know that you got the dollar amount. I mean, Joey
Dollar
gets
amount
a dollar
hasn't
amount for his administration.
Dollar amount's the same.
Right, dollar amount in total is the same. We did verify that, the dollar amount that they started with in the 7 is the same dollar amount they ended up with in 5. And we even went as far as saying the dollar amount in salaries for the 7 is the same amount as the dollar amount in 5. We just got to move the expenses that were charged before we actually got the final budget. And that's the piece that we haven't done yet. And
You'll get
we're
to
just
it.
behind. I mean,
All right,
I'll be the first one to tell you, we're behind.
like Popeye said, I'm doing the best I can do.
We are definitely doing the best we can do.
Is that all you have, young lady?
Well, your solid waste is operating, within their budget. Every department is operating under budget right now, and all of your special revenue funds, are also operating under budget. And then your sales tax in July, again, you got over $1 million. You got more in July than you even did in June. You got $1,048,000. Sales tax is just doing phenomenal. So at the end of July, like I said, you're at 2.45 million ahead of schedule.
Who would have thought?
Fantastic. I know. And so Commissioner Thrift, at the end of July,
I see.
you actually have $259,000 available
that was a big
in
jump.
sales tax 6, and then if you flip over to your T-Splost, you have 314,000.
Went up quite.
And in T-Splost, you received 974,000. So just doing way beyond what we really
We could
have
have rolled the
ever thought it
millage
would.
back, couldn't we?
What's that?
I said, we could have rolled the millage back, couldn't we?
Unfortunately, I don't think so, because that's
Well,
sales tax.
I think we can next year. I mean, we already know what we just don't need to spend all that.
The local option sales tax, which is going into your general fund, is doing very well, but
Yeah.
your SPOS is very specific
It's
on what it's
designated.
allowed to be spent on.
Designated.
But, going off of what, Commissioner, Walden was just saying, I mean, I know we all understand it's separate, you know, between the sales tax and everything. But, I mean, I would like us to look at seeing if we can roll back the millage, because, even looking at the fund balance, right? I mean, do we, as a government body, I know we've had some trying times in the past where we were down to 2 and 3 months worth of reserves. And I know, I see where we're at now, roughly around 5. Is that something that we could look at? I guess I look at it like
So
that.
So the
I did
fund
want to
balance-
share with you
Yeah, the
guys.
fund balance only needs to be used for one-time purchases. It'd be good to help offset your capital purchases.
Right.
But it doesn't need to be used for recurring expenses like
So,
operations.
in the budget that you just adopted, there is $789,000 identified as use of fund balance for the capital items that you did approve. So we already have earmarked $789,000 of it in your current budget.
Right.
I did want to, because you mentioned the millage rate, let me just share with you as well. The tax commissioner distributed the consolidation sheets this week. We just got them. I have not had a chance to review everything, although I have spoken with all of the other entities, the Development Authority, the Hospital Authority, the Board of Education, and the City of Hinesville, so that we can peg possibly adopting our millage in your October mid-month meeting, which would be October 21st. So Mr. Brown and I are going to try and get together one day next week, as soon as I put some information together, so we can tentatively look at it, and I can get all those forms ready to tell you, you know, this is how much real growth you have, this is what your reassessed growth is, this is what it would bring in at your current millage rate, this is the rollback rate. I haven't done any of those exercises yet. We got through the closing the year. So next week, we'll start working on that process, and as soon as we have information put together, we'll be starting to share that with y'all. But again, we've already sent out those dates to all those other entities that we're shooting to adopt your millage on October 21st, which would be great, because if those tax bills could get generated by November 1st, I mean, that's probably the earliest we've ever done it.
Yeah.
So that's what we're shooting for.
Wow.
Mr. Brown, Joe, you remember at the last meeting, or meeting before last, what your statement was? That the commissioners set the millage rate for the Hospital Authority?
They set the overall millage rate, and the only other, well, no. So the Industrial Authority sets theirs. They're not a recommending, so to speak. The hospital under the law has a right to establish their millage, but in the end, the commission adopts that.
Have you had any conversation with them? Yeah, I was just
No, sir.
curious as to.
No, sir. And I think we were gonna take a look and see what, that's what Kim wanted to push that information out to them to see what they had in mind.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that lands.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Right, but I guess back to the fund balance, what we were discussing. I mean, I know we can only technically use it for one-time operational, but technically, that fund balance is there for operations, correct? Say, for instance, the government shuts down, right?
The fund balance is really there to carry you through the period of time you're not bringing in the revenue that you normally bring in.
Right.
You know, so your heavy revenue time between January and March.
Right.
So you live off of fund balance pretty much from April through December, really probably July through December, because your revenue's down for operations. So, you know, sometimes people call it a rainy day fund. That's not true at all. It is your ability to be able to carry the expenses of the county without having to go borrow money for those months. And that's the reason you want to try to achieve between 5 and 7 months, and your policy says that.
Right.
So you know, history, and I'll be real quick. In fact, Commissioner McIver came into it, a situation where the decision was made, instead of to sustain operations through recurring revenue, they went into the fund balance, ended up borrowing money. I think Chairman McIver came in, the millage had to go up 2.5 mils his first year to establish fund balance back, so that you didn't borrow money every month to operate it from that July through December time period.
Okay.
We got to be the bad guys. We were the new kids on the block.
Yeah.
But that's the hand we were dealt.
Oh, and I remember
Yeah.
when I first came on the commission, you know, that was a rough time for us. You know, I mean, I remember going to some of my first classes. We talk about fund balance, and they're saying they're up at 5 and 6, and I think during that time we were like 2, 3.
Two.
Yeah, it was right.
We want that.
I was just.
And we will get down to 2. We will probably get down as
'Cause I know
low
it
as
fluctuates.
2 or 3 towards the end of the, I guess, what I call the cycle for the digest. So when the tax bills go out in December, you know, then in January and February, all of a sudden we're flooded, and then we have to live off that. If the tax bills go out earlier, we only might we might get as low as like 3 or 4 instead of 2. We have been as low as 2 before, but then we get that tax money comes in again, and then we're back up. But it's usually just a couple months before we send out taxes that we're out at our lowest.
Right.
At where we're going now, though, Kim and Mr. Chairman, Joey, and the rest of the members, what are we gonna do here regarding this actuary? I mean, you've already said we're 2 million, Kim, and I mean, any way we approach this, it's gotta be addressed. So, I mean, I don't wanna say go to the digging in the fund balance, but, I mean, let's work it the way we'd work it at the house. I mean, if we are gonna have our employees and they're gonna be working for us and we're gonna have to support them, then that's something that we've got to address, one way or another. And when is it gonna be time to pay it up?
I believe that's usually due by the February or March timeframe, if
From what I remember.
So we're
correct.
not sure right now, it is 2 million, or
No,
we
it's,
are?
it's definitely a little, it's like
Yeah.
2,038,000.
Where did we get this? Because of our influx in retirees, or you said the market?
No, it's a combination of things. It's their mortality rate tables, their projected rate of inflation, the projected benefits for the increasing salaries that people may or may not get. There's a lot of different things that come into play when an actuary tries to gauge what your future funding requirements are going to be. Now, I will tell you, the fact that we're at 62%, I think is really good. I'm not sure we've ever been that high. We've never been required to be that high. ACCG requires that you be at 75%, and we've continuing trying to get there. But there's a minimum that they'll accept. And this year, and again, I'm not sure what drove it higher than what the shortfall was last year. I'm anxious, and I've got several questions. I've already reviewed the report. I've got my whole list of questions ready for this conference call next week with the actuary to try and understand how it jumped so much more from last year.
Okay, who with the county is involved in this, Joey? I mean, I know at one time, though, we had a group of
No, we don't
folks
have a
that was gonna
pension
be
committee.
retiring that-
No, we don't have that anymore.
Yeah, because the pension committee, when you were with, unlike
Transamerica.
ACCG, when you were with Transamerica, the pension committee used to decide where those investments were in the market. But ACCG has their own investment committee that's made up of county commissioners and staff and pension folks that decide those investments. And so there's no need for the pension committee anymore. They basically do the actuary report and present it to us and say, here's what you owe.
We're in a pool with several other counties that gives us, I guess, better buying power, but at the same time, I'm not sure we always, I don't know. It's hard to say. We've only been in it, what, three years now?
Challenge, you know, and
Before Bob left.
4 years, maybe?
yeah, it's probably been 4 years. Again,
Yeah, 4 years.
three of the major things that are causing that is when the pension oversight group, not the ACCG, but they said, look, your pension plans are gonna have to comply with certain tables and guidelines. And so they increased as the life expectancy of people was extended. That causes every plan to go up. because then you gotta plan for people to live longer, and it's a law, you gotta plan for that. Big thing, we were looking at about 62%, that we were trying to fund under Transamerica. When we went into ACCG, they said that's not sufficient enough. Our criteria at ACCG is 75%. And so, boom, automatically. When you give a salary increase to an employee, boom, it's going up. Your obligation's going up. So, you know, every time you increase salaries to the people that are in the pension plan, then that goes up.
And the general cost of living. I mean, they
Yeah.
take that into consideration too, the inflationary growth rate that they project out. They take that into consideration as well. So there's a lot of things,
And the market, and
the market.
of obviously
I
how the
Well, I
market
mean, and
goes.
we're dealing only with ACCG, so do you think it's time that we look around the corner and find somebody else?
No, sir.
Why?
Because they are only investing for county governments. And
very
people, the
specialized.
people that invest for cities and counties, cities are mostly in GMA's fund, which is very, very similar to ACCG's. And there are not individual investment companies that specialize in government securities and investments
For defined benefit
or defined
plans,
benefit plans.
which are a dying breed. I mean, there aren't, I'm not sure there are any defined benefit plans that are still allowing people in them. We shut ours in 2017, I think it was.
I was hoping one or both of y'all would have said, well, we can try, but,
Nope, I'm telling you, there's not a market out there to shop for government specialized.
there's too many folks out there wanting to loan money and too many investment companies out there now. I mean, I know ACCG is probably a good group of folks, but it may not hurt to get, I mean, there's some older people sitting right here at this table. Of course, I won't draw a retirement from the county and don't want one. They didn't get the job for it, but I'm sitting out there looking at Clinton and other folks and Brian and them, they're gonna want to. So, I mean, I don't know, it may be time to get a pool of people together to have some questions that.
Well, they're guaranteed. Clinton doesn't have to worry about anything, because whatever that pension is promised is gonna be paid to those employees. That's why we have to build up the balance. So,
Now, Brian's gonna have to worry.
Health.
well, because Brian's in a different pool.
Brian's in a different group.
Brian's in a different pool,
Well,
but it's guaranteed to those folks, and,
if we owe them $2 million, then we need to be getting ready to pay them $2 million because we've already got retirees out there.
yep, that's the reason we're setting aside $2 million. It's set aside in that fund,
Yeah.
in that.
And that is
obligated
why I
fund.
reserve it. That's exactly why I reserve it, because I know that it's coming.
And next year it might be, you don't know what it may, maybe another 10.
Depends on all those factors.
Yeah, there are a lot of factors involved.
There are a lot of factors.
There are a lot of factors in there.
And it took a long time to get caught up, to get here.
Yeah, it took a long time.
I know
But it keeps
there were several years we were in the 40.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah,
45%
yeah, yeah, yeah.
funded.
I remember it
That's why we
very
changed
well
plans.
that we talked about it here, and I
Yeah.
mean, that's why it's so important to, I mean, I've had folks that's retired from the county calling me saying, when we gonna get a raise?
Yeah, that's
They
something
called Mr. Brown too.
that's coming
I
before you
retired.
next time.
Retire, he wants a
Because
raise.
we ran
The
the figures.
retirees.
Yeah,
Yeah, we ran the figures on that too, because your plans we've never opted, because this money would be more. You've never opted to have an automatic cost of living for people that are already retired. That's something you could build into the plan, and then your funding obligation would be increased, but, yeah.
Well, they ain't gonna work for nothing, so,
Well, unfortunately, those people that are retired can't contribute anymore either.
well, I know that, but I mean, if we're gonna
Yep.
do the fair thing, I mean, you gotta try to give them something to live on, or they'll go to ESG.
No.
They need grass cutters over there.
Our present staff is taken care of. He's talking about the retirees.
Who?
Retirees and
Those folks who are out of the county system right now, who just,
Who are already collecting a retirement check.
yeah.
You know how Social Security sometimes does a little cost of living? I think that's what some of the retirees are saying, hey, we've been receiving the same thing for 10 years. Shouldn't we get a little COLA too? It's not built into the plan, it's something you can do if the board
if the
chooses to
board
do.
commissioners, but it's not
Right.
into the
That
plan
must
they
be a
paid
different
into.
Social Security
Right.
than what I'm getting.
I would tell you that 90% or better of the retirement plans counties do not have automatic cost of living.
Right,
We have polled that to find out.
right.
so under our current pension plan, how many employees?
So there's two
Right.
different pension plans. there's the defined benefit plan.
right?
That's, us old timers are in. And then there's the, I guess, the new one, the 401A, is that what our 401?
Yeah, deferred compensation.
The deferred comp plan, where your benefit is gonna be based on what you contribute and then how the market does for you.
And the commissioners match that too.
And the commissioners match that,
But
yes.
it's at a level amount. It's
It's at a
what you
different,
contribute
yeah,
done. Right.
yeah,
Right, that's under defined contribution.
right,
ACC,
exactly. So the more you contribute, the more the county
I
matches
sit on that board.
up to
Right, that's
5%.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the plan, that's one of the plans.
Right.
One of 'em.
Right, I sit on that state
You
board.
sit on that boat, that's why ain't nothing doing.
Hey, we're not losing any money, I can tell you that. But going back to what Joey's saying, like, literally, they have professionals that strictly
That's what they do.
focus on retirements and government and make sure, I'm telling you, they have eyes on top of eyes on top of eyes
Well,
watching.
they're state audit requirements that we have to send and they have to certify,
Yeah, yeah.
because you can jeopardize your plan.
And I could tell you, the group of professionals on that, from the legal team to the whole entire staff, I mean, they watch every last penny and make sure that they're it's being very safe with
You may,
retirement.
I'm sorry, you may remember when the teacher's retirement system went through a crash.
Yeah.
Because of investments by private companies. And then the law changed, Georgia law changed, you can't do that anymore. And so they put requirements in for government plans that are very stringent.
Matter of fact, we meet next
We need to recoup some time if we can. Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, that's quite all right.
Any other finance question or,
As long as,
We talked about money enough.
I'm sorry. It was a good year, though. 2021 was a good year.
excellent year, excellent
Okay.
year. excellent.
Thank you.
I really appreciate the work of the, Kim, you and the staff, Joe, everybody up here. Commissioners, you too. It takes a team concept to make the good year that we had. And every time you think you figured it out, though, yes, another twist to it. But we'll keep working. All right, come on, Mr. Long.
You don't have,
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I have one thing that I did add to your table tonight, which should be a letter, it looks like this, which is the recommendation for the awards of Point South and Palm Drive. We'll get to that in a few minutes on our monthly report. The letter is the same thing that's in my monthly report, but it also gives you the breakdown of the bid tabulation. We did do the drought study. We were talking about that a little earlier today. We've been working on that. We did review 26 sites. We had to go to each site. For most all of the sites, we had to rent sounding devices and boats and get out there and take topographic data or bathymetry data from the bottom of all the ponds so we could figure out volumes and certify volumes for what we're doing. Then we ended up preparing reports for each of the ponds that we did do. Each of those are about a little shy of 100 pages each with maps and different things. We did give those to Mr. Darby, and he did provide those to the ISO folks. So that is over there. We did finish that. I think last Friday was the last time we had any time charged to it. Done Olivia Oaks drainage improvements. Mr. Wells has been out there and done some work on some drainage out there. So that is in place. Islands Highway box culvert, that's still being reviewed. We did send some stuff to FEMA, kind of waiting on that to finish up. We did look at what's called Islands Highway safety improvements. Basically, we've had several conversations in here about the new industries that are coming to the Tradeport East. And we've had some concerns about the driveways that are accessing on Islands Highway and the amount of truck traffic that's going on Islands Highway. So what we ended up doing was preparing some schematics of what we would like to see happen along Islands Highway with rural section, more or less a 4-lane roadway with left turn lanes, right turn lanes, deceleration lanes, everything we could to make Islands Highway as safe as we can for residents traveling to and from, especially the Colonel's Island area out there coming into town as they approach, and then they get into the truck traffic, that there's room for everybody to get around We looked at several different options of that. Mr. Brandon and I did. We also looked at it with the Development Authority, and we have also talked about it a good bit with Department of Transportation. As a matter of fact, we had a teams meeting with them yesterday, planting the seeds, talking about different things that we could do to make Islands Highway safe. Now, we do realize there are some improvements we need to do on that we need to do soon, and there are some that are long range. And we do realize that our ultimate plan includes a new bridge over I-95. So there's a lot of heavy lifting that needs to take place and a lot of time that this is going to take. So this is really, and we've been talking about it for years. So now we have some seeds that are planted, and hopefully we'll be able to get this thing turned into some projects, get some funding from DOT and take this thing forward. So it's kind of turned into more than just talk. So hopefully we'll be able to do a little bit more with that as we go along. Next thing is Lewis Fraser Road Bridge. As you're aware, the Department of Transportation is going to replace the bridge over Lewis Fraser Road at Peacock Canal. They had one of their first concept meetings earlier in the month. Right now, the existing bridge has 11-foot lanes. As everyone's aware, we've been systematically widening Lewis Fraser Road to 12-foot lanes with extra shoulders and, fixing that road up as we go along. So when I heard that in the concept meeting that it was 11-foot lanes, I kind of raised my hand and expressed some concern, and then I went as far as providing a lot of different detail to the Department of Transportation to get 12-foot lanes on that bridge. At the time I wrote my report, I was thinking that we were going to need a resolution from the Board of Commissioners to request 12-foot lanes on it. But as of our meeting yesterday, I found out that the change has already been made by the department to use 12-foot lanes on that bridge. So we're good and moving forward on that. Now, there will be a period of time that section of road is going to have to be closed through traffic. And that'll be 22, 23 timeframe. It's not going to be like right away. They still have a whole bunch of environmental to go through. They still have a whole bunch of bridge foundation inspections and things that they've got to jump through to get all the design done. One thing that they mentioned to us that's not in my report, that they would like to see us do some coordination for additional right-of-way that they think they're going to need for the widening of the bridge, trying to assure them that I think we've got plenty of room for replacing the bridge in the place that it is now. So we have some going back and forth on that as far as the additional right-of-way they think they're going to need. And as that progresses, I'll be able to let you know a little bit more about that. Switching to Stormwater Mpds, we had some things we had to get to EPD as far as that goes. That got wrapped up, and we actually got our letter today for the audit that said we were good. Switching to Tundy Way drainage, that's it's an existing phase 1 out at Haverson Plantation on 196 cutoff. At two places out there where, in one place, the contractor building one of the houses filled up the roadside ditch, and then just down the street, another resident filled in the roadside ditch and started parking a bunch of not so nice cars and things like that in the road or on the property adjacent. Building and Zoning has notified both property owners that they've got to reestablish the drainage, and as a matter of fact, I think there are some court issues going on with the guy that filled in the ditch with the equipment that he has parked on his property that's not supposed to be there. So we've been assisting with trying to make sure that drainage is corrected, because if you ride out there after these rains, all of a sudden you have water that comes all the way up to the middle of the road, just sitting there. And so that's not good for anybody out there. So we're trying to make sure we get that corrected. Trayport West EMS building. We did look at I think I had a chance to look at that earlier this month. Also, we did have a chance to go out there and locate the power line that's out there. Our proposed improvements are not going to conflict with the power line that's going down the road. We are talking a little bit with the The LCDA, the plan that we had originally had variations of sizes of right-of-way through there. And when we were talking to them about it, they said, oh, no, we want to be this size right-of-way. So we're making a few adjustments to be on the correct size right-of-way for them, as that part does. But other than that, that plan is done. It's at the NRCS for our letter of technical review for erosion control. So as far as the site work goes with those minor modifications, we can start looking at funding and whatever we need to do for that project. Becky Street and Olive Street intersection improvements, those, you approved the contracts for that. Settle Construction is the contractor. Price is $90,258.02. We did issue contracts to the contractor. They have gotten their bonds and their insurance and actually delivered them back to our office today. So we'll be getting with the chairman in the next couple of days to get those signed, and we'll have a pre-construction conference, and then we'll be able to put on our next report the schedule and what they're doing. That way you'll kind of know what's going on. Middle Park Fire Station, we're pretty much through with those. We made some changes to the plans this week that were requested by staff as far as that goes. So we've turned those back to the architect, and you should be getting probably September the final set of plans that would be ready to go out to bid. The Miller Park Recreation Park improvements, those plans are out for bid. They open this coming Tuesday. Right now we have 2 bidders. We did have a mandatory pre-bid conference this past Tuesday. The prices that we're getting are broken up into sections. You know, the recreation sections, the building section, the roadway section, the deceleration lane section. We've got it broken down, so as we're looking at different funding sources, we can identify which funds go to what funding source. Yeoman's Road, District 1, I actually brought a drone footage where we flew down the road so you can see it while we were talking today, but the little computer there won't quite show the video. It gets a little too jumpy for you to try to watch, but that project's looking pretty good. Most of the stone is on the ground. They got some concrete curb and gutter sections that they're tying into catch basins and just some minor things, and we should be getting to asphalt very shortly. Their end date is next week. So we do have a change order of 44 rain days that they have actually stopped their work. That doesn't include rain days that they're working anyhow. So what we need to do is I would like to ask that the commissioners give Mr. Brown the authority to approve a change order for time extension of 44 days for the actual rain days. Now, we didn't count days that they couldn't work after the rain because it was too wet. We just counted the actual rain days. I don't know if we want to stop and do that now, Chairman, or if you want to do that at the end.
We can do it now, it's fine. Who wants to offer that motion?
And it's not that they're not trying to work. They're out there constantly on the road working. So they're not just-
Which one is this now?
This is Sykes Brothers.
Huh?
This is Sykes Brothers.
They need some more
On your
time.
I think I missed the point.
They need more money.
No, we're not asking for money.
No, that's what I'm thinking, Justin, they need some more.
44 days for the rain.
Yeah, 4 days.
44 days.
Yeah.
44
44
for rain days.
rainy days.
And
Okay,
they are days.
I make a motion that we grant them for that amount of time.
Is there a second to that?
Yeah.
Second.
Motion and a second that we extend to 44 days, rainy, whatever you want to call them, for Sykes Brothers for Yeoman's Road. No money included, right?
Justin.
All in favor, raise your right hand, please. All right,
Got your attention, didn't it?
He was working.
My mind was someplace else.
All right, the next one is Palm Drive, Point South Drive. We did take bids on Palm Drive and Point South Drive. We got two bids. The lowest bid was $281,107.30 from Sykes Brothers to go out there and redo what we need to do on Palm Drive and get it overlaid, as well as what we need to on Point South Drive. So
I need money.
No, you don't need.
You need money.
You need time.
you need money.
Right.
No, you need time.
So, yes, and the second bid was $405,114. But APAC is usually, either they get it or they're really high. But APAC is a big firm. They have a lot of overhead. So,
Is that why they,
but I feel like 281,107.30 is good. The unit prices are very reasonable. And I would like to make a recommendation that we approve Sykes Brothers for the construction of Palm Drive and Point South to include a 10% contingency.
And that's pretty much resurfacing?
Yes, sir. We've got some deep patching in some places where we got some problems, cracks and failed pavements, but after that, it's mostly surfacing.
Okay.
Brad, what do you reckon the reason is traffic control is where it's at? Per
About
unit,
the number or the disparity between the two?
the per unit. I mean, on APAC, 46,000?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, I can't answer that question.
Huh?
I can't answer that question. I don't know why there's such a disparity. I mean, nearly 4 times difference.
I know,
Yeah.
and to me, like, I mean, this is not the first time that we've sent out bids and some of these companies are this far off. I mean, are they,
Sometimes I think that's where they put some of their profit, or they just put
well, they need to hide it better.
unusual things.
Well, I'm gonna get in the root cutting business because it says one sum of cutting roots, 7,500 on one and 3,500 on the other one.
Yeah, it's a lot of root cutting though.
But it says it's one root,
Cut roots. It says roots, there's plural.
huh?
There is an S.
For one unit.
I know, but look at the number of units.
Yes, one sum. That means one price for all of them.
That's what I'm saying. They'll take it, right?
You know, and that's something over the years, we've tried to predict what the traffic control is gonna be. And, we can kind of come close to what we think usually the winning bidder is. We get pretty close to those, but there are always some that are way out there that it's like, wow. Like back when we did, Barrington Ferry Road, that section that we closed down and replaced the bridge and all that. Yeah, they put like almost $50,000 on it. And what they had included in there was they brought brand new variable message boards put on either side of our project. When they were done with our project, they had brand new variable message.
Yeah.
What I like about this, Point South, Palm Drive project is that, when they move the district, it's gonna be mine.
Gary does a good job of doing that.
Right.
I'm trying to catch up with America. That's what he did to me, so I guess now.
Got a long ways to
Keep
go.
us- yeah.
Long ways.
So what's the time frame for completion once they start on these projects?
I think I gave them 90 days, 90 or 120 days in the contract. Gosh, I can't remember exactly what I put in that contract. But I can look that up and let you know.
And
I
all
do
that is
apologize that I don't
overlay,
remember.
Justin?
Right.
Yeah, really what we do is we give them
Shouldn't-
time
shouldn't-
to be able to get there and do it. The actual
almost an in
time
and
doing
out,
the
right?
work won't take that.
How about striping? Is that included or no?
Ask me that again?
Striping?
Yes, sir, striping is included.
Do you get money from the city on that too?
For me?
This is his project.
See,
This is.
you ought to be getting a little bit of money from the city on that.
I think I should.
Palm Drive,
Absolutely.
Really, I know she has some other project that she's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but my whole district is inside
Yeah.
the city, just like yours.
And his city commissioner, had some other project that she's doing in the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
same thing, other streets. Now, you want us to move on this tonight, sir?
If you could, that would be great. If you want to wait till
I
another
think he was
meeting,
talking.
that's fine.
I think he was talking to me, Trent.
Yeah, I was asking the commission. I was asking the commission.
I'm messing with you. All right, yes, sir, Mr. Chair, if we could move forward on both these projects, so if you need a motion.
I will.
I guess so.
I got.
Oh, yeah,
got
absolutely.
One question.
Second, okay, now question?
Yeah, I was wondering, Trent, you got it dated July 29th, is that right?
August 19th?
Is that right?
That's one of the.
July 27th is, yeah, we just when we took the bids. No, that can't be right.
That's what,
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me look it back at this date.
You signed off on the 29th.
He signed off with another.
Yeah, no, we did, it's July 27th is when the work, but we didn't have it in time to get it on your regular meeting last time. That's why it's coming to you now.
I'll
It'll be
second.
July 27th, right? Yes, July 27th is the right day that we open the bids.
All in favor? All right, sir.
And include a 10% contingency with that as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that number will actually be 309-218-03. That 10%.
And I guess Kim, go ahead and move that money over.
We will, we'll go ahead and show an obligated now on it, yes, sir.
That goes all the way through now, don't it? To Palm Drive goes all the way through, it comes out at, huh?
Stops at,
Oh, right.
yeah.
Yeah, but when you turn right on Oak, can't you go down and come back in on, out of,
Palm is a straight shot from 196 to Oak.
right, but what I'm saying is, as far as traffic, if they're asphalting, they can go to Oak and turn right, or they can turn on Cherry and all those streets and
Cherry.
come back out, right?
Just,
The only one that come back out, well,
Elm comes out.
Elm comes out.
Yeah, Elm comes out.
And then Oak comes out, but
Yeah.
Cherry, Dogwood.
Yeah, all
They
those
all-
are dead ends.
Those don't,
I was just trying to figure out,
Talking
it's
about for
talking about
control?
traffic control there, and I was wondering, I guess they can
Do,
access and come out,
They just run
do
down Demery.
sections.
Yeah,
You
Demery.
can do that too.
yeah.
All right,
did we ever get to vote?
we did.
Yeah, we did.
Approved it.
And so I'm gonna send them the contracts and get that going.
Thank you.
Okay, Fleming Road Traffic Control. I meant to have called Ryan Arnold because he is putting together some public hearings for that last couple of days and get what he's got set up on that. Neglected to do that this morning. Actually, I've been at Treat Hill Road and looking at that, so I have not done that. So I will call him and get that report to you on when that's gonna be.
And Elm and Bacon.
Yes.
So
I think we got this one in Elm. I'm not sure we got Bacon, but we can get Bacon on there.
right. So right. What's the procedure with this? With the city, we have to get
I'm
it.
kind of going through it with him the first, he's done it a couple of times, but I'm trying to learn it from him as he's going through it this time. But apparently what they do is they put it out, then they end up having a public hearing to make sure that everybody in the area wants to have.
I'm not making it up. I'm getting emails and calls from constituents asking for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
It is-
I get it from from a citizen standpoint, but I feel like if a elected official who's paying for it,
I understand. And I do understand where you're coming from. Because when I started this process out, I was like, okay, this is what we want to do. And then they said, oh, wait a minute, this is the process we're going through. So I'm learning the process with them as they're going through it.
right,
I think this
but
is the
can
second or
you
third time they've-
ask them about the differential of the requests?
Yes, I will.
You know, I mean, if I'm taking it out of my money, I'm paying for it. I'm not, I don't know.
Yes, sir. No, I completely appreciate what you're saying.
All right,
Is that with the city of Hinesville?
absolutely.
No, do they have?
Trent's a kind guy, I'll tell you, he did make that known up front. And so they weighed out who the proponent of the action ought to be. And I'm not sure who decided, who did they decide was the proponent?
Yeah, they're letting you be
They
the,
are letting him
the
be the
head speaker.
proponent. So to answer, they were very aware.
Okay,
They still insist on the process.
okay. Well, next time, I just, all the emails, I just get them to call the city, and I save my money.
You good?
Yeah, that's simple.
All right, and then the Recreation ADA accessibility project is going on. Swindle Construction is a contractor on that. The contract price is $389.50, and completion date is November 9th, 2021. He's doing a good job.
He
He's
did
been
good
out
at
to-
Gum Branch. Looks really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, he's been to several of them. He's had to pull out of some of
Because
them.
of the rain, yeah. he
Because
was
of the
out
rain. I think he was doing some at Gum Branch.
Right here.
and had to leave. So there's a lot of things he's done and then had to leave because of the rain. But he is making good progress on it. I think he has made some of the changes to some of the dugouts too. Trying to look at, some of the dugouts are having some structural issues that need to get worked on, so we're kind of looking at what we need to do to fix that too.
Quick question, follow up to Commissioner Walden's question there, Trent, about what percentage would you say he has done on that? And I know this is a top of the head thing, but
He is probably 50% done. I'll go back and I'll send you an email tomorrow. I'll look at, because what he's built us is not representative of where he is.
gotcha, okay.
But I'll get that number and I'll email that out to you. All right. Walterville Roads. Did not forget to put it on here. I talked to Larry, and I don't have everything I need from Larry yet, so what I was trying to do is make sure I'm with him and he and I are on the same sheet before I put something on here that says the same thing I've been doing all along. I hadn't forgotten about it. I haven't done anything as far as work relate goes to it, but he and I'm trying to make sure I'm talking with Larry about that.
If you would just add a line item on your report, so that I know that it's giving them,
Yes, sir.
whether it's movement or not. And, as long as we know that it's part of the report, it's something that could be used. And if Larry is the holder, then, and that's the city of Walterville that won't be getting what they probably could be getting.
Yeah. Well, I need to talk to him about some other things too, that kind of came up as far as the Highway 84 connector project today, as far as utilities go. So I'll be talking to him next couple of days.
You know, if you would just put that on the report and just said, talk with Mayor Baker, no movement, month after month.
Okay, I'll be glad to do that. I hate to put something on there if there's no real movement on it.
But when it's not on there, I don't know if
I understand.
Mr. Chairman.
I appreciate what you're telling me.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes, Trent, how about the convenience centers?
Yes,
Joey?
ma'am. We are
What are we-
working
where are we
on
at?
the Gum Branch Convenience Center as far as getting construction plans going because we have the property there. Mr. Bryan and I talked about trying to get together because we need to approach the Martins or the property owners at the Isle of Wight Convenience Center because we got to obtain the property on that one. So we're trying to get that set up so that we can move forward on the Isle of Wight.
If we can't, then what are we going to do? Can we move on with Gum Branch?
I'm moving on with Gum Branch already.
Can you put that on your report so we can,
I apologize that I did not put that on.
and then
I
did
will
the
be glad
sites
to.
go back out there and look at Pioneer Road?
Yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, we went back out there again today because we had asked them to come out and do the warranty work. And I don't think they had done it, and Keith was out there trying to coordinate. Keith was out there today, looking at it again, since we've had the rains, seeing how bad it was, and trying to coordinate and get that work done. and get that
That
work-
work down on Pioneer Road? Okay, and then the convenience centers.
Yes,
If we
ma'am.
can start some movement.
Okay.
And hopefully it's bigger. There's no doubt, there is a lot of trash in
That all
Liberty
gum branch
County.
trash?
I don't know.
The brush is growing.
It is growing. Mm-hmm.
So much as much water on the ground as there is trash in the community centers.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to mention to Trent here, and I had talked with Joey, there's some of our work that we are seeing here, Trent, and you brought up two of them tonight, which is the Development Authority at the entrance in Midway. And it appears that what's happening here, according to what I have seen, and of course, listened to Commissioner Stevens on it, these things are getting started, and then we're having to play catch-up ball. And that's really not healthy for the standpoint is they are the Liberty County Development Authority.
Yes.
Now, I don't know who their engineer is, but it all of a sudden comes back to the commissioners. That right there is something that I imagine the chairman can make sure that we don't have to do that. The other thing is we have agreed back a couple of years ago that all of the board members would have a certain amount of funds that we were going to spend in our district or to help one another. And I've been above board trying to help all of them, everybody that's in here. And I want to make sure that whatever we're spending, sales tax and general fund, that we have those jobs ready. That's just me. Now, I don't know what the other commissioners are wanting, the chairman especially. But when we get these up here, let's make sure we have these bids or these engineering and all our data that we need to go, that we can bid them, and you've got them engineered.
Yes,
Okay?
sir.
That's the next thing. The differentiation between sales tax and general fund. Now, sales tax is a given, everybody says, but it's not. I mean, once the public decides we're not spending this money right, then we're going to be in trouble because we depend on it now. But every district here is important to me, and I commit to helping them, whether it's in recreation or roads or whatever. But it's got to be that we have got a project here that's on this. These jobs, if you're looking at them, they ought to be engineered and they ought to be ready. And say, if they're not engineered, I don't need to know about them. I mean, if Marion's got one, Connie's got one, or Gary or Maxie, if they're engineered and they're ready to go, then let's cut.
So what you're telling me is, while I'm working on a project, you don't want me to report it until I have it ready and designed and ready to go?
I don't want to hear them. I mean, there's two things that we're looking at. You're having to bring something up here to us, and when you bring it up here, we need to be able to act on it. And if we're going to be for information only, there's two things that's happening. We're wasting your time, and then you're coming up here and the county's paying a bill, and you can just as soon send an email and, guys, look here, I didn't get to this road and this road, but I'm ready. So the important thing is to me is Commissioner Stevens needs some money. I'm gonna know it ahead of time.
Yes, sir.
But I mean, when this road needs to be looked at, I don't care nothing about that because there may not even be funds for that road. There may not be anything. But I think that we have got a good communication open between all the board members and the chairman, and we need to be able to work together and say, if you need some money, I can help you. But I mean, if Commissioner Stevens is gonna take out a bridge on Lewis Fraser Road, I don't know what that bridge is gonna cost, and you don't know what it's gonna cost. So what we need to know is when the DOT gets ready and everything's ready, and he says, this is what we gotta have, then we need to be digging in sales tax money from 1 through 6 and the chairman's, and then we need to be looking and see what the DOT's gonna fund. And if we can't do it, we can't do it. But I think that we can move faster by getting all of these jobs engineered and ready to go out for bid. And then when we run out of money, we run out of money. But, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've heard the Islands Highway box culvert since Firth Rickson drug that piece of equipment over it, okay? And you know how long ago that's been?
Yes, sir. Well, you know, the thing about it is, one thing you need to understand on that is we're having to communicate with FEMA regularly. And they told us a year and a half ago, it was gonna be more than a year and a half before we started getting any funds. And every now and then, they come back to us and ask us for money. Not money, or for information. So what we're doing is reporting to you what we've done. Now, I will be more than glad to tailor my monthly report to what you guys would like me to do. And I will tailor it however you want me to present it to you. So if we'd rather do it email-wise, I'm fine. However you want me to do, I'm more than willing to do that.
Commissioner Walden, I hear you very well, but I just know that ever since I've been on this commission, that the commissioners have taken this opportunity to ask this gentleman a lot of questions about their various projects. Some of that even may not be on the, on his report. So it's up to the commission as to how much of that communication you want to have here or electronically going forward. Then I'm sure he will curtail his report to whatever hour.
I can do it whatever way you guys want me to do it.
Would that reduce the cost?
I mean, I don't have a lot involved in the
I'm
the
just-
cost of the status report or coming to make the presentation. And most of my costs are in the projects and providing the engineering services.
So they, I hate to use the word spoiled, been spoiled by being able to ask him impromptu questions, you know, about.
Well, it
projects
gives
in
me a
our
lot of
district.
feedback as well.
Yeah, yeah. But let's think about it, and we'll move forward, whatever our requests are. And then I'm sure he will
Okay,
kindly abide by that.
I'll be glad to do whatever you want me to do.
All right,
Mr. Chair,
yes, sir.
just got one. What about Bill Carter Road? I know you give
Good
us.
example.
Oh, yes, sir, yes, sir. We'll be
Good
ready.
example.
Must have got sidetracked. We are almost finished with that. We've got Whitaker Laboratories going out there doing some cores of the road. We've got about 8 cores we're gonna do, so that I know what sections and what information to put out to the bidders. Other than that, all that information is ready to go. So if Whitaker gets me my borings and my reports, I can possibly go out to bid late September on that,
What about the tree,
the tree. On Bill Carter Road?
Bill Carter Road?
Well, right now, it's unless we take it away, I was gonna not try to.
That tree's about, 3 feet
Yeah,
y'all say
I got some,
from the road?
I got some guardrail stuff and stuff, but I was trying not to take it down unless I had to. If you want me to take it down, I'm glad to take it down, but
You the
you know,
engineer.
it's like, a long time ago, I got a phone call from Mr. Otis Amison. Told me, any man cut down a 100-year-old oak tree ought to be hung by it, and then he hung up on me. So, and most of you know Mr. Otis before he died.
yeah.
That was saying a lot, because he'd call you and you'd be on the phone for an hour. So I try to keep nice old trees if I can. If it's gotta go, we'll take it down, but I'm trying not to take it down if I can help it.
But just figuring that price of making it safe.
Yes, sir. I'm certainly gonna do that.
All right.
Unfortunately, I had to take one down at Yeoman's Road. So, you know, I'm not afraid to take it down. I'm just trying not to if I don't have to.
Shooting from the hip, Trent and Mr. Brown, I'm not sure, you know, picking up on what Commissioner Walden was saying, some of these, if your reports can come out to us prior to our meeting, we can look at your reports electronically and give you some feedback and/or ask questions. And we may want to talk to some of your fellow engineers or some of your other county managers. How do they do their engineering report? How, you know, and so if we can improve, we need to improve. I agree with you. I agree with you. So we don't drag things out. But
Yeah,
I don't want to
it should
cut off
be
the
in-
communication that you all have with Trent. You know, man, we want to keep that going however it goes.
Yeah, I don't have a problem communicating with him, but do we have the money to, it's like Commissioner Stevens said, is the money there for Bill Carter Road? Well, we know the money's there for Yeoman's Road, and we planned on that. But if we don't have the money, then are we engineering roads that we don't have the money for? I mean, because the engineer can be good today, and in 48 hours, it ain't no good. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it can change that quick. And,
Projects have a shelf life.
I'm just speaking just from a little bit of experience. That's the only thing I'm saying.
So the monthly report should be in your packet, but what I'll start doing too is I'll try to make an email
Yeah.
after I send it to Maria for the packet to send it out to you guys as well.
And quite honestly, it's really not fair to you to hit you on the spot, because, you know, while you are a county engineer, you have more work besides what you do for Liberty County.
We just want to make sure that y'all are taken care of.
Well, you're doing a good job of that. We appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Fraser, I mean, years ago, he had asked for, finance report in advance as well.
Yeah, so you got two options on the finance report, because the way they have to be closed out with all the entities. I think what she attempts to do is she waits and come to the mid-month so that she has time to close out the month prior, because it takes at least 10 days to close that out if we get the reports from the other agencies not under our guidance. So your choice is to keep her on the mid-month. You're always gonna have a problem with the year end. That's happened for 20-something years, because you're closing out your audited end. So that first month in the new fiscal year is always gonna be tough. Or you can start getting it in your packets, but for instance, it would be the June report you would get in August. So you're gonna be delayed another month closing out if you wanna get it ahead of time, if she stays on the mid-month. There's really only two options for that.
What she gave us today came out sometime today,
Yeah, she actually wrapped it up yesterday.
yesterday.
Yeah, we have to get final totals from clerk's office, jail, a lot of folks that it takes them time to wrap that end of month stuff up to get it processed.
So these are really hot off the press.
That one is, yeah, because she was trying to close out everything.
I get it, it just,
Yeah.
I don't know, because,
Yeah.
I mean, our mid-month falls on different dates. So,
I mean, actually, if you want to get it ahead of time, which wouldn't be bad, then what you need to really start doing is deferring. It'll actually not be 60 days, but it'll be about 45 days. You know, we'll put her on the regular meeting, and then she would have the report for 2 months prior to that. You just run a 30-day delay is what you'll do.
I mean, but that,
Still, you get it ahead of time, before the meeting.
I mean, we can't get these reports like a day before? Because what I'm.
She could, I mean, depending on when the closing is and when the mid-month hits, in about a 10 to 12 day period in there.
So do we close on the 15th? Or is it,
No. So when the month ends on a calendar month,
right?
let's say September 30th, then immediately those agencies start gathering data to send us, and we start wrapping up the payroll runs and everything for that month and rolling them into the general ledger. So it's really after the month ends. And that's what causes the problem, because if your mid-month falls too soon after that, which it does, sometimes back to back, from that end of the month, I mean, it's getting them in the packets going out sometimes doesn't work, because the packets go out a week ahead of the
I
meeting.
mean, can we send it separate or something? I just.
If it closes, she could send it, if she's able to close, before the mid-month, then she could electronically send it out,
Right.
you know.
Me personally, I would, you know, I know we've had this discussion for years, but I would rather look at the financial standpoint prior to the meeting as well.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I think that could cut down some questions as well.
Well, and I don't disagree at all. I think what we do is let her, she and I look at a calendar to see, it may be that you want to move her to the regular meeting, and then you are assured of having that well ahead of time, because there's gonna be some days, if you leave her on mid-month, you may only have a day to look at it, which is not enough.
That's not enough.
It's not enough.
But then looking at 60-day-old data, how relevant is that?
I don't really think it's,
You don't think it'd make, okay.
I mean, you know, we
Just
look,
asking.
yes, sir, we'll look at the options. I agree. I would like for you to have them ahead of time. Sometimes that may be possible, and other times it just won't, because we don't get the material.
Yeah, if she could just send them out, if it is the day before, send them out. Those who can look at them will look, and those who don't will look at them at the meeting.
Okay.
just as soon as they're ready to be.
Now, we'll look at a calendar going
Okay.
forward to when mid-month falls. We'll try not to move her then and just see what days.
That work?
And if everything goes good, then it'll close on those
That
days.
work, all right.
Yeah, if we get the material.
Kind of sounds like Commissioner Fraser is hearing some of the same telephone calls I'm getting, so. Yeah, there's some folks ain't getting them, but I'm getting them. So,
Phone calls related to the financial report?
yeah.
Okay, I'm not aware of that.
I'm not getting
Maybe we can work on it.
Let's hear from LCPC, then we're gonna bring the coroner up next, if you guys don't mind. Kelly, you okay? All right.
Here, let's just turn it around.
Yeah, well, that's because there's been a lot of discussion, there's been a lot of talk, kind of, we had to be, as chairman, I'll take the blame for that. We'll do a little better with our deliberations.
I think you're doing an excellent job. I mean, I ain't got nothing but time. You retired, ain't you?
Yeah, I am.
Hello, Commissioners. So I've just got one variance for you tonight. This is variance 2021-43 LC, submitted by Mr. Josh Wheeler on behalf of the owner, Michael Zabarak, to decrease the side setbacks from 15 feet to 10 feet on a parcel 281B79, consisting of 2 lots and having frontage on both Main Street and Clark Street, and this is on Isle of Wight.
Where else would it be?
Yeah, that's actually probably a good segue. Y'all have already looked at and approved 2 of this exact same variants on pretty much the same right down the street from here in the last year.
And I don't want to step out of place. It's not my district, but I mean, do we have to go through this whole?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, in accordance with the ordinance, yes, sir.
But I thought last time, wasn't this one of the ones that we said that we're gonna, like, all the parcels in that area?
I think that what we had discussed was that our unified development ordinance that we've drafted and that y'all are reviewing right now, or Mr. Davis rather is reviewing, is that when that is adopted, which is probably going to be a little while from now, it would fix this problem. You won't see any more of these, but that's a good ways away. If y'all want to explore some other kind of ordinance, I'm sure we can try and figure something out, but in the meantime.
Well,
But,
if it's
yeah,
gonna
I
be,
believe-
if it's,
I thought last time we voted on this, we said that all the rest of the
we
parcels.
we didn't vote, we talked about it, the necessity for it. And I didn't realize it was gonna take a while for Mr. Davis
Yeah.
to do what he needs to do, so I think his point's well taken. If it's gonna take a while,
Yeah, even after we get it back, we got to run it through the planning commission in different
Yeah.
stages, and then of course to y'all, all 8 of the jurisdictions, and it's going to be a little while.
yeah, you might need to look at Plan B.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, so this is the lot right now, and there's a sign right there, our legal ad. So we are, if you go down Isle of Wight, this is like right where Isle of Wight splits into Main Street down here and Clark Street up there. Here's like a little closer look. So like I said, Isle of Wight's here. This is Clark Street up here. It turns into like a dirt road around this area. And then this is where Main Street runs. So this parcel, like the other 2 before, is one tax parcel, but it is 2 legally distinct lots that were, I believe, put into one parcel for tax reasons a while ago. But Mr. Wheeler wants to do the same thing he did before, which is that these lots are both 60 feet across, so this is a total of 120 feet across this parcel. And they should both be 80, as in accordance with R2 zoning. That's the minimum lot width is 80 feet for R2. So you can see these are R2, as are all of the lots around it. So as far as our conditions, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to this piece of property because of the size, shape, or topography. Yes, these lots are exceptional because they have a lot width of 60 feet and are zoned R2, which requires a lot width of 80 feet. The application of this appendix to this piece of property would create an unnecessary hardship. No, a 30-foot single-wide family home, or sorry, a 30-foot wide single-family home could conceivably be constructed with the prescribed 15-foot setbacks. Such conditions are peculiar to this piece of property. No, there are many other lots in the area that have the exact same non-conforming issue. And then relief, if granted, would not cause a detriment to public good. So we are recommending approval with standard conditions.
All right. I don't see a petitioner here.
He's not here.
Okay. All right, then, Mr. Commissioner Jones, we're gonna let you address this, sir.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I was interested in the conversation that Commissioner Fraser started on this. I think y'all have come to this issue before, something that's before me. And could y'all explain more on the conversations that's being held on these type properties?
It's basically dealing with the setback, but with all of those particular parcels, they were prior to the new ordinance that we set in place. So now, whenever it's time for them building or something, they have to come to us and ask for a variance on that particular parcel. But it's starting to become redundant because it's the same thing.
It is.
over.
Yes, sir.
It's like the movie Groundhog Day. There we go.
Yeah, there are, in the whole Isle of Wight area, there are possibly hundreds of identical parcels to this with the same problem. So, yeah.
There hasn't been any problem necessarily, just the fact that they have to come to us every time for the variance.
Right.
Yeah.
And so most of the times we do accept the
Yes,
LCD.
yes, we do.
and
Every
approval.
time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you're right, every time.
Every time.
And we'll probably be back here again, and I guess
Because there's
the
still
Yeah.
proposal that you're
132
talking
of
about
them out there
would.
exactly like that.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the variance requests as requested by Mr. Wheeler with the special conditions.
Is there a second to the
A
motion?
second.
Motion and a second. And the other comments that I will take.
Sir, and yeah, if y'all want to get with Jeff and us about maybe something we can do with the ordinance for y'all specifically a little earlier, so y'all don't have these rolling back to you in the future, we can talk about that.
All right, all in favor? Joey, maybe can you, to prevent the elongated time to get something done, can you and Kelly help with
Absolutely.
that alternative? Yeah. Yes.
It's nothing against you. I love when you come present in front of us. This one is like,
Elongated?
Elongated
Or long-
process. All right. Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Commissioners,
All
y'all.
right,
appreciate
thank
you.
you.
Good one. Mr. Pierce.
About to go to sleep.
Yeah, but you know what? Everything's always looking up.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Now, they didn't tell me I had to look at clicker tonight now, so I don't know if I know.
Well, you never long anyway.
It's one on the side.
Thank you.
All right, lady, thanks. Okay.
thank you.
Well, good evening. I think we come before you all tonight to talk about something we talked about earlier in the year, as far as what we're facing against and what we've been facing, and what we're going to probably continue to be facing. So just to give you a brief, I think we passed out something for your notes if you'd like to. But since we started in office in 2005, we started out with 67 cases for the whole year. As of 2021, as of today, we're at 124 cases right now already. We are now beginning to see a lot more COVID cases that are passing away at home over the last 2 weeks. We've done we're right around about 10 calls so far over the last 2 weeks.
I'm trying to help with the time, but I got to ask you, passed away at home, these are folk who did not think they need to be hospitalized or refuse to be hospitalized?
These are the ones that have been, some have been to the hospital.
Okay.
And because of the shortage and because of everything going on,
They were sent home.
they were sent back
Or
home.
they opted to go home?
Well, some opted and some went back. They had no choice.
No bed, no beds?
They went to, I think one went to hospital twice, and was sent home both times. So what's happening now is pretty much as far as oxygen and all, everything now is totally, I mean, they basically have to send them home and be dependent on at home to be able to try to hopefully get over it. But those are cases now that are beginning to start growing.
Wow.
And also, we got cases that's growing too on a lot of unattended deaths, a lot of deaths that they have families that have decided to opt out to say we're not going to claim the bodies. So now we're being, as far as cooler and refrigeration, we're holding them longer than we should be holding them, which is causing us to have a basically a full cooler. And this is becoming more of a frequent thing. So we're now having to outsource sometime to other coolers. I think we talked about this already, Ms. Sherman and Steve, and outsourcing now to different areas to be able to, for storage. So that's one of the growing issues that are beginning to start growing. Everything we're talking about
Can you tie
now.
that into transit population or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I kind of
Yes, sir.
figured as much.
Yes, sir. It used to be the nursing home. And now it's just the transit of people that are come in, and some are not, don't have any connection with families anymore.
yeah.
They lost connection with families. And that's what I'm gonna end up into now, because it's gonna be another thing I'm gonna ask and let y'all kick it around. But the commissioners might need to be able to give a little more teeth to us as far as in the coroner's office to be able to do disposition a lot more faster than what we're doing it now. Right now, we have to go through the process and go get the judge order and go get things done in order to have the person actually give me permission to go ahead and do the cremation. When that happens, the cremation is still, we still hold those cremains. So we still have those cremains in the office because we can't dispose of them. So we still have those now, and it's beginning to be a storage with those right now too. So, and this is kind of an update, just to give you all something to think about. And gratefully, Folk Stewart now has gracefully told me, and we've made him, that now we will be notified on all deaths on Folk Stewart. Whether they are active duty soldiers, whether they are civilians, they're gonna call us on all deaths. So now we have to deal with that now. So we have an agreement on how we're gonna do that with the soldiers. And most of all, it'd be a phone call to us. We would get the information, do everything, then turn it back over to Folk Stewart. So we'd be more like a joint effort, but we still have all the civilians and all the dependents,
So
unfortunately.
you have to go do the investigations out
It'd
on
be
folks?
joint.
Okay.
It'd be joint.
It'd be joint.
Even a part of Fort Stewart that's in other counties?
No, it's just Liberty County, just Liberty County. It used to be on the outskirts, between, around the gate, but because of this, what Mr. John, that memorandum, what is it, that joint effort between Folk Stewart and the county and everything, that, yeah, they came up with this, and there was a case that happened, and I'll make it short and brief. There was a case that happened at one of the corners and made a big issue out of it, and so this is where all this sparked another situation where the law enforcement examiner said, yes, you have to clear the jurisdiction of the corner of that county first before we will even come in.
Not to get you off target, but I do know from talking to Garrison a few months ago now, I have to say, well, still was averaging about 20 suicides a month. Is that still?
Since we started, since me and the head of CID sat down and met and talked, we have not had any soldiers so far on post. Most of ours have been off post.
Off post.
So we haven't had any on post, but we have had a few civilians on post. But as far as the actual soldiers on post, we've not yet, which is not going.
But if they happen, you have to investigate those too?
Yes, they would notify us. Yes, sir. And then so now we're down to what the main thing we were asking. We have, as far as since I took office in 2005, the greater numbers are growing, and Liberty County is growing. Unfortunately, the death rate is not going to go back down. The morgue facility at the hospital, it's been good for the time frame. It's been good. But in my personal opinion, it's about time for the commissioners to look at building an actual coroner's office building, a building that will be accessible to law enforcement and to everybody, to the coroner's office. We're doing a lot of things on the outside, and you got Facebook, and you got everything else, cameras and everything else to see what you're doing. Having a dedicated facility, we will be able to go back to that facility, do the things we need to do, and there's no cameras and no nothing, and nobody will know what's going on. It's a lot of security issues that we like to deal with, but the main thing of it is the growth and the morgue space is outgrowing it. It's been getting sort of outgrowing. So I'm not saying let's build a building tomorrow, but it's going to become evident that we're going to have to try to build a building in Liberty County. And this is not about me because I've been in office now going on, finish the term, be 20 years. So it's about the future and where this county is going to be in the future. So regardless of who the coroner is, he or she, I want to leave them in a position where I didn't sit for 20 years or whatever and didn't do absolutely nothing, but draw a salary and a paycheck. But I want to leave something to where the county is proud of what we've accomplished over that year's time. And so with that being said, now, I don't know how good these pictures are, Commissioner, but me and Commissioner Stevens, I think we rode up to Butts County, and we toured this facility in Butts County. And let me see if I can click here. Let's see here. So I've done the introduction already. So this is the actual front entrance of the building here in Butts County. This building was given to Butts County Coroner's Office by the hospital. They actually made a agreement to switch out some spaces. So they switched out some spaces here. This is the outside of it here. This is the back here, and you probably can't see where's the green there. Right here, where this corner here, that is the actual cooler, the walk-in cooler that is there. It's right in here. I think he stores, they can store up to 20 cases in refrigeration because the walk-in cooler. This is the front entrance to go in. This is the actual main entrance hallway here. This is the actual office here, where they have everything set up with this is the actual coroner's office itself here. Filing cabinets, everything is inside of here. This is actually the deputy coroner's office here. They have spaces to where they can do all their reports and do everything in this office space here. This is actually a family room where the families can come in. We can go into this room here, and he discusses with the families. He has a Bible. He has a Bible that sits here. He has prayer with the family, and they have a room they can sit in and be able to discuss and talk and everything in this room here. Of course, that's a security door for the morgue there. This is the actual inside of the morgue here, where you have the actual lift. You have an hour wash station here. You have the tables, all the tables here. This is the main cog in the whole thing. This is a viewing window. This is a window that we do not have at all.
I was married in there.
Sir? Yeah, that's him taking the picture in the glare there. So that's the actual viewing window where families can actually go in this particular room and actually view their loved one without having to actually go into the actual morgue facility. Right now at the hospital, they would have to go into the morgue. We have to bring them out, and they have to actually go in and look at their loved one to make identification.
And let me say this very quickly. At the hospital now, if Reggie brings them in from the outside to the morgue, it seems a little cold-hearted. Brings them in through the hospital, and it's very emotional, and it just causes y'all. You can just,
Especially when you're in the hospital,
yeah,
because you're in the main,
it's
the
just-
morgue is in the
it's
main
tough.
lobby.
it's tough.
So families run out down the hallway,
It's tough.
and nobody knows what's going on. So
It's tough.
It's a rough area there. So this is the viewing window here where you can actually look over into the morgue. Standing in this area right here, this is the actual cooler. So they bring the remains out here, and they use the tables here. What they do there is they transport all their remains back to this facility. They undress, they do photographs, they do evidence, everything there in this room here. And this is that's still the morgue there. Where he has it set up, he puts a stretcher there, and that's the viewing room. It's got little window shutters there where you can close it there. This room right here is an evidence room. It's an evidence room where he stores all the evidence of the deceased loved one. He has it's a smaller area there, but that's the evidence room there. And that's an antique morgue table he had. I thought was pretty nice there. But they do that's one of the tables they did the first execution on at the
I mean,
stadium.
Reggie, we really don't know the difference in.
Antique versus.
Yeah, you see this? Hey, come here, see the antique, right? See the wheels on it there?
But
You see the wheels right there?
but it still looks kind
Hey,
of
and that little light right there, that's antique. Yeah,
That's literally the first one I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that's that antique version right there. I don't think the wheels probably don't roll on it. But he put it in there as a sentimental value to when they did the facility there, and that's where the historical autopsy table.
You said they would do the autopsies in
You could actually do the autopsies in there.
Because
Is
that,
that typically where they would do them at, or,
No, sir, they do theirs at the GBI medical examiner's office.
well, and that's up the road.
Yes, sir. But in the building they have here, they can actually do independent autopsies.
If the family wants one.
Yeah, they can actually do it there in that building there. What happened in 2020 and when hospitals and all were not allowing the independent pathologists to go in and do independent autopsies. So they had to actually go out to funeral homes and do it. So with this facility here, let's say, for example, if we need a independent autopsy for the coroner's office that the medical examiner is not going to do, but we need one done, then we can have the medical examiner or a pathologist come into our facility here, and they will actually do it here. And they'd be equipped to do everything they need to do there. Yeah.
But what are those basic rules if a person passes away 24, 48 hours after, what, you know, I remember the hospital quoting that if I were at the hospital and leave and pass away, then autopsy could be requested.
Yes, sir.
After you do your.
Yes, sir. What the medical examiner's office too, I'm glad you brought it up, Chairman, because right now with the medical examiner's office, they are now tackling about 32 counties. There's only 2 medical examiner's offices that are doing forensic pathologists, and that is the one in Savannah and Pooler and the one at headquarters in Atlanta. They have closed the Macon lab. Macon lab is only doing normal autopsies, I call it, not forensic, but normal. But the only forensic doing homicides and some suicides, they all go to either Pooler or going to Atlanta. So right now, sometimes we have to store up to 3 days before we can have them taken to GBI. And we did have a rash of overdoses. We had a weekend where we had about 5 or 6 overdoses.
This past weekend?
And I know it was when I texted you that time and told you that.
Okay.
We've had a number of those, and that they were mostly all fentanyl. So that is a growing thing too now with fentanyl.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this here is now this is, since their little office is small, but this is the little break room / storage room he had up there. And there with the refrigerator and all, he keeps little sodas and things in there for families in there. This is his little storage closet here. This is the main 2 good thing here with a bathroom and a shower, because when you deal with a lot of cases, you know, you can come in and take a shower and change clothes and everything there. So that's pretty much it. That's the gist of it. But I would say that if the commissioners do decide and y'all do decide to build a facility, I would not build a facility less than an 80 by 80 building. This was a 40 by 40 building. But you look at security, fencing it around, everything, you would look at all of that when you build a building. So,
How does Butts County compare to Liberty County with population?
very small,
25,000 people.
yeah, very small,
Okay.
very small.
That's Jackson.
Jackson, Georgia. That's where the state prison's at up there.
That's where.
Yeah.
But they got a low population.
Yeah, and they do, and they're here, they do all the, when they do all the state executions.
Yeah. Jackson.
Jackson, yeah, all state executions, so they have to make sure they have to do everything, and once the inmate's executed, they go straight to GBI. And that's part of their, that's mandatory. All inmates are autopsied. But that is actual small, they just built their brand new facility in Henry County, which is a whole lot larger county, and they mapped it, based it off of that facility, but they made it bigger for Henry County.
Yeah, that right there is too small.
Yeah, it's too small. It would definitely be too small. I would, and where he's got his cooler set up at, it's on the inside. I would also, when they do the building, or if you plan to do in the building, the project of it, I would put the morgue on the outside, and have a breezeway piece put in where you can actually walk across, but it'd be closed in like a little hallway, where if you have a decomp or something, then you won't have the odor coming into the actual building. He does have fans and everything is in there in the morgue to pull the odor out and everything. So, yeah.
But you said the hospital gave them that building, so they were happy just to get.
They switched some spaces, so the hospital gave them the way he engineered it was that there was a building downstairs in the hospital. They wanted to switch the space out for that space versus this building here, and he switched it out, and he did actually all of the contracting, cutting the rooms off, and did everything himself. So he didn't get an engineer; he just did everything himself. He does woodwork and all, so he was able to do that. And a lot of things he got was donated, like the furniture. A lot of that stuff was donated to his office there.
He cut the engineer out altogether.
Yeah. So he's actually retired this year. And now he is one of his deputy coroners he ran and she won. So, but he's still very, very active in this, in the project and what happened up there, so, yeah. So,
There's not very much land room at the hospital now.
They're landlocked.
I mean, the piece, let me ask a question. The
Yes, sir.
piece across, side by side of the present EMS office, who owns that? I'm talking about the one that's over there now. You know, there's a ditch, drainage, and then there's another piece of property there?
that's a good question, I have no idea.
The hospital does.
Yes. Huh?
The hospital does, yes, sir.
You know what I'm talking about? When if you, right by the EMS on South Main,
Yes, sir.
then there's a drainage ditch, and then the other side of that, there's another lot that's as big as the EMS office.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just didn't know. You said the county owns it?
The hospital does, yes.
Hospital? Well, that won't be, I mean, what you looking at, 80 by 80 is what you're saying
That's
that
what I'm
one
just
is?
proposing, I mean, because it depends on when you started. You look at from 2005 to now, and we're gonna easily be over 200 calls this year. And then you look at from just 21 until 10 years from now, 31, you might double to 400 calls. So it's just gonna be depending on, I never recommend bill for today. I'll always recommend bill for the future. Because if you don't, you're gonna have to keep adding on to a building. For example, the morgue at the hospital has been great, but, it's been a lot of maintenance been having done to it. Some of it in moving parts on the inside, they're rusting. So it's beginning to have some wear and tear, or a lot of wear and tear. And so eventually, it's not gonna be as operational as it has been.
Well, we built 3 jails, so
Mr. Pierre,
Yes, sir.
you said, okay, that's a six draw,
Yes, sir, 6 draws.
and you got 2.
Yes, sir, I got 2 at the office.
Fort Stewart got 2.
2.
So Fort Stewart has a crash.
Yes, sir. They've already asked me the other day, if they had any disaster, or they were in a planning stage of, in September, they're planning on more deaths as far as on Fort Stewart or on the area. So they've already asked us, will we be able to help them with storage as far as cooler space? And I cannot give them an agreement, by no means necessary, because there's just no way I can commit to saying yes, because we don't know what happened to the county. What I did tell, we will be able to help if need be, but I mean, I can't
What
get
does Loudoun County have?
Long County got a 2 draw.
Bryan County,
2.
McInnes County.
2. Yeah, all of them got 2. Yeah. Right now at Memorial has an 8 draw.
Okay.
And Memorial stay full. They actually have them they just on tables and in the morgue, and just got a refrigerator, got cooler, the air conditioner blowing. So they want you to hurry and make the removal, and they can't even hold. Corner in Chatham County is having a big issue with storage. Yeah, and now Chatham County is in the process now of actually, they are going to be transitioning a building and turn it into the coroner's office there in Chatham County.
So what was you proposing, how many drawers? Did you have a number?
With this here, I propose a walk-in cooler. And you can put the racks around the wall, and you can put like maybe 25 racks around the wall, and then you can put 24 tables in. So you can have as many as 50 in a walk-in cooler. Or if you make the cooler bigger, you can have more in a walk-in
It'd
cooler.
just be one wide open
Yes, ma'am,
cooler,
cooler.
and then you just put, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Because of that way, you don't have to worry about, as far as the only maintenance you really will worry about is on the actual refrigeration cooler itself. So if anything goes bad with that, they can work on the back of it, fix it, but as far as worrying about the trays and all that, you don't have to replace none of that. You can buy stainless steel tables, rolling tables, and you can use those.
With the small time issues that you have had with the cooler not being effective, that's pretty nervous.
Well, I received a phone call one night that the cooler was up to 50, I think it was up to 56 or 57 degrees. The alarm that's on the cooler didn't go off. So the alarm never went, when we get to a certain temperature, the alarm is supposed to go off, it's supposed to alert maintenance at the hospital. Well, it didn't go off. So it wasn't until my transport was putting one in that they realized that the temperature was up to 56 to 57 degrees. It was actually beginning to get warm on the inside. So they called me, and we had to actually go and make the transport, and we had to actually transport to different facilities that night to make sure we kept them cool. So we used my facility, and we used, I called Long County, they never called me back, but I called, we used my facility and Bryan County. Bryan County didn't charge, Corning and Bryan County didn't charge for any use of his facilities or anything, because he used his funeral home cooler. So he has a funeral home cooler, has 2 in Richmond Hill, and he has his other one has 2 in Bryan County.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's interesting what you do. I don't want to do it,
Now you gotta do it.
but
I think this
but
is
as
probably
we
the first time I've had it. This is about the first time I've come in front of the commissioners and actually actually gave an update or proposal or anything. And but I see the trend, and you know, you want to get ahead of the trend before it begins to start. I mean, you probably got another 5 or 6 years, but I mean, you know, it's just so
It's coming.
just the fact of putting it out there so you all know exactly what's going
It's
on.
good for us to take and make note of it. We were talking earlier about how well SPLOST is doing. Maybe SPLOST will keep doing well in the next round. We'll be able to, got some other projects, but certainly want to add yours to the list, sir, for
Well, I
consideration.
can tell you, we're going to do all we can do.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to make sure that we represent the county well in anything that we do. And I've always said that, and I've always do that. So if we have to, I mean, if we have to go to Pooler or wherever we have to go to make sure that a person's loved one is taken care of in an adequate way, that's what we're going to do.
Well, this, you know, it's part of growth.
Yes, sir.
It's part
Yes,
of
sir.
growth, part of
Yes,
growth.
sir.
And
I ain't gonna ask for no money tonight. I know y'all trying to give out money tonight.
no.
There you go.
And really a big part of it too
Hey,
is
Reggie, you see tight water over there?
Yeah, he ain't looked up yet, is he?
Tight water?
He running that penny. He got
he knows.
You gotta be nice to you.
Yeah, a lot of it's to do with the dignity for the families. Too.
Yes, sir. It does.
I can tell you
It
that,
does.
y'all. It's
It does.
Yes,
I felt
family.
bad last year in 20 where we could not allow families to actually go in and to the facility and actually give their last goodbyes or say anything. And you know, most families doing cremation, they do direct cremation, so they're not able to. They want to say the last goodbyes, and we were not able to do that.
yeah.
And the way it's going this year, we're not going to be able to.
Wow.
The numbers are now, we're not going to be able to. Yes, sir.
Commissioner, can you speak up a little bit?
Okay, yeah. But you kind of have to look at location to build something like this. I mean, you just couldn't, you know.
Throw it up anywhere.
I guess you would want it near the hospital or something like that, or?
Not necessarily. As long as it's in the area where it's going to be accessible to the law enforcement in the city and the county, because the city detectives, they like to take photographs and come take photographs, and also with the county. So anywhere that's close by, I mean, the city, I mean, it's like the jail. You know, if there's an area out there.
Okay.
But anywhere that's, I wouldn't say midway, because I mean, that's too far for the city to travel, but anywhere in this on the west side or anywhere in this area would be good.
Okay.
Just more of it being accessible. Most families, they like to, they want to make identification. They want to be able to go in and see their loved one. I mean, that's, doing a photograph is not, it's kind of like I mean, it worked, but it's, I mean, I just really let them be able to make a positive identification and be able to see the loved one.
Yeah, I guess the reason I was asking, I've never, not knowingly, like riding down the road and see a morgue.
Yes, sir.
I've never seen one. Maybe I have. I just didn't know what it was. You know?
Well, I tell you, if it's anywhere like that facility, when you walked in, you would never know it's a
I don't
morgue.
know it's a morgue.
But it has to be a sign up there.
Yeah,
right?
it's just got, he just got a emblem on it, Butts County Coroner's Office on the outside of it.
Right.
And when you walk in the main door, it's just a hallway, and you don't see anything other than just a hallway. And the way he's got it decorated, and the actual morgue is a little bit further down the hallway to the left, and it's in a locked door, so you never see anything until you actually go in that door. So families will never know until he takes them over into the viewing room.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir, no problem whatsoever.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Diligence. All right, Mr. Davis is going to roll for us.
All right.
Third time will be a charm. We have the
That's what they say, sir.
firearm ordinance before you. And if you remember, following our last meeting, it was recommended by Commissioner Jones that you decrease the minimum lot acreage from 10 acres to 5 acres. So that change was made. But then following consultation with the Sheriff's Department, 2 additional changes were recommended. And the first, I think, is not controversial at all, and I think it was an improvement to the ordinance. The Sheriff's Department just recommended that the description of the backstop be more specific. And I think that was addressed Commissioner Walden's concerns as well. So by the revisions, you see that was accomplished, and I think it's a needed improvement. The third revision, Sheriff's Department recommended that the distance between residences and schoolhouses and other inhabited structures be increased from the 1,000 feet that we had now. I think it's common sense that depending on the caliber of the firearm, 1,000 feet may not be sufficient, but with the improved requirements for backstop, that might have addressed some of the concerns. So Commissioner Jones, I was mentioning while you were out, the minimum lot acreage was decreased to 5 acres. And if you're concerned that, the currently recommended 2,500 distance requirement between residences, it might be a little bit inconsistent with the 5 acres, because there could be people who have a 5-acre lot that aren't within the 2,500 feet requirement. So the board may want to return to the 1,000 feet, may want to keep the 2,500, or adopt a compromise of, say, 1,500 feet. But of course, even if you're within that 2,500 feet or 1,000 feet distance, if you have the consent of your neighbor or the owner of that structure, you can shoot within that distance. So as long as you have your neighbor's consent, if you're in that distance requirement, you can shoot, as long as you have the 5 acres.
Okay.
So I think that's really it. The only question you need to decide is if you want to adopt increased distance requirement of 2,500 feet, or stay with 1,000 feet, or adopt some compromise measure.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
how would the 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet compare with the 5-acre minimum?
Well, I mean, let's see. Somebody might help with me with my math, but I mean, a square acre, I think you're probably looking at less than 500 feet per side. So if you have 5 of those, if you had depending on where the structure was and depending on the shape of the lot, it may not be a problem if you're shooting on one side of the lot, but 2,500 feet would present a problem, I think, for a 5-acre lot. If you had structures,
That were.
right. And of course, I think it's fair to say that the preference of law enforcement generally is to restrict the discharge of firearms to, 1, only lawful hunting activities, or 2, to areas where there's just minimal risk of harm to the public. And so I think if you ask most law enforcement, they would probably recommend even greater distance requirement, and just you restrict your discharge to ranges and shooting preserves and much larger spaces. But I know that the board is trying to strike a delicate compromise between the rights of the citizens to enjoy their firearms and the public safety. So.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, please, like I said, I understand the need for what we are doing and why, but me, not me personally, but me and my constituents, and I, we live out in an unincorporated area. And I understand we having these housing developments and subdivisions not infringing, but they're popping up everywhere now.
Having to share.
They're popping up everywhere now, and the makeup of the unincorporated area is changing. The subdivisions, I understand the need. More of them, most of them, you got 4 houses on 1 acre or more. Responsible landowners, I mean, even an acre. Where I personally do my shooting at is a 2-acre area. It's got a brim behind it, neighbors on both sides. You never had hear a peep from anybody.
Yes, sir.
My neighbor behind me, like I said, he's a detective. He has 5 acres, 6 acres, and it's no problem. He's out there shooting. I go out there shoot with him. But the unincorporated areas, I think, with some special conditions, the 5 acre, I think is a lot out in unincorporated areas. But that's just me, one commissioner speaking for this one district. But I do see the need for what we're doing. I'm not against what we're doing. I just don't want us to, I know we have gone over this 2 or 3 meetings, and I think we did say that we would vote on it this time. So I would just like for us to look at all angles before we finally take a vote on it, that we've explored all situations involving this. Like I said, a bunch of my folks are in the unincorporated area. And a bunch of them have, like I said, maybe 1 acre, 2 acres, 3 acres, 4 acres. But you know, if we ain't got 5 acres, then we gonna have problems, run into problems with being and illegally discharging firearms. I'll probably hear more from it later after we pass this and people hear, I didn't know y'all did that. And I was shooting in my backyard forever, 20 years, 30 years, nobody never said nothing. So I'm just making sure that that part of the populace is heard before we finalize what we're gonna do.
And so with those concerns, you might want to leave the distance requirement at 1,000 feet. And of course, you can always revisit it. But as you noted, you know, the success of the ordinance or public safety, it's going to depend on the responsible use of firearms. And so if someone is not, you know, using their weapon safely, other provisions of the ordinance, I think, will probably address that conduct. You know, whether you're shooting across property boundaries or you're shooting within a certain distance or, you know, I think the ordinance will probably cover the unsafe use of firearms. So it might be that we start out with 1,000 feet, more consistent with the 5 acre lot requirement that you proposed at the last meeting, and just see how that works. But I think there are enough requirements in the ordinance that I think irresponsible gun owners will find that they'll be running with law enforcement sooner or later. So it doesn't really, I'm not too concerned whether it's 1,000 feet or 2,500 feet.
All right, my commissioners that represent the unincorporated areas, certainly all of us have a say-so, but I'd like to hear from you. We heard from Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Thrift, and Commissioner Stevens.
Let me say this. This whole thing started off as a noise nuisance, more or less, with someone shooting right up under you. You know, that's how it actually got started. And how did we get to the 5 acres, 10 acres? You know, I guess that was your work in it, I guess, Kelly. I don't know. But anyway, that's how it actually got started, with a noise nuisance, someone just literally shooting 250, 300 rounds, you know, right up under you, in the close proximity of a neighborhood. That's how it actually got started.
So,
I mean, as long as the noise ordinance can be kind of like addressed, because there was nothing on the book, I think I'm satisfied with whatever there is.
well, I was thinking the same thing, you know. Did we say we didn't have one before? Is that correct? We didn't have it.
We didn't have anything, right.
And now-
Other counties did, and we didn't.
We didn't have an ordinance as far as shooting or
Yes, ma'am.
target practice or whatever. But we have,
The noise.
if you called the deputy out there to you because of the shooting, he didn't
Nothing that
really,
they could do.
there was nothing they could do.
Although one guy, let's say one guy shot a shotgun and you could hear the pellets coming through the woods. You know, that's what that's how this got where it's at.
Yeah, and, you know, that part
And
is
that
very
doesn't mean that
dangerous.
everybody is an unsafe shooter, but it only takes one. And that's how this got where it's at now.
I have heard, you know, like I said, from a few out there in my area as far as the dove hunting and that type of thing, you know, over their property, on their own property. So I don't know that I could be in favor of voting on an ordinance if we're just trying to get rid of a noise or someone shooting unresponsibly. I don't know. I don't necessarily have that happen out there, other than I think they're shooting responsibly. But with the density of some of these subdivisions, hopefully, but you never know, you would have that one person go out and start
That's all it takes is just that one person
that
to.
one person go out and start shooting. I hate to say it, but if they start shooting around me, I just go inside.
My discussions with law enforcement.
I would say take.
My discussions with law enforcement in the county really haven't concerned noise so much. That was a minimal concern. I think their concern was with some anecdotal evidence of, unsafe
practices.
weapon
Right.
use. That's right. That's law enforcement's primary concern, and that was my primary concern in drafting the ordinance.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, you can take the,
But again, there's nothing to compel you to adopt it this evening. If you want more community feedback, I recommend that.
well, no, I think we need to take some action. We've been playing with them.
what you think, Justin? What you think? Can't hear you.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. It would, it would.
Yeah. Again, I represent the part of the unincorporated area of the county, which is the Hometown community, but it's more of a community than out where, like off of Long Reach Road or Bill Carter Road or something like that. It's not, it's more congested. So I hadn't heard nothing from anyone. So. But we didn't have one, and we're trying to get one, and it'll be ours, that we can amend, adjust, or do whatever. But I mean, we didn't have one, and I'm like Commissioner Thrift. If we're doing this because of noise, or if we're doing it because of another reason, I mean, do we need one? If we do need one, then we have been. It's been brought before us. I guess this is the third time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and the fact that if we adopt it, we reserve the right to
Amend it.
to amend it. But we don't have one right now.
And the concerns of your constituents, if it's a hunting club or if
Right.
they're dove shooting, the ordinance really won't affect those sorts of lawful hunting activities. I mean, most all hunting land meets all the requirements of the ordinance. Established hunting clubs that are in existence prior to the date of the ordinance are grandfathered in. So I don't think traditional hunt clubs and other traditional hunting activities will be infringed really at all by the adoption of this ordinance. And if that proves to be the case, we can revisit it. But I'd be very surprised if that were.
I mean, because actually you got a hunting club, not a shooting preserve down there in Commissioner Jones' area, and from what I was told, it's up to par.
That's nice.
That one is up to par, and I'm quite sure the one probably down there by the Trade Port East is probably, it's up to par. So, I mean, we don't want to cut them out at all, okay?
And I think we mentioned last time, like this mirrors state law in that whether you have hunting clubs or shooting preserves that are in existence now or in the future, it protects them from future encroachment from development. So if you have an established hunting club or preserve or land where hunting activities are regularly engaged in, and you have a development that comes within 1,000 feet of that property, they're still allowed to continue their hunting activities and shooting activities.
Yeah.
State law protects that right as well as this ordinance.
Would the commission entertain the no less than make that 2 acres versus 5, and the 2,500, bring that down to 1,000 feet? as a start. And like Commissioner Gillett said, we can always come back later on and
Right, yeah.
amend it, but at least the law enforcement has something, some kind of teeth, you know, if they're called out for a complaint, they have something on the books that they can use as a rule. 'Cause right now, they really don't have anything as far as county, other than, you mentioned the state ordinances, and it does scare me, you say someone's shooting through the woods with buckshot, and, you know, that's.
So what I'm saying, if that's the case,
little
why
bit
are we
scary.
reducing the acreage?
Because
was that now?
based on what Commissioner Jones said, you know, his property is 2 acres. He's been doing it for a lot of years. He and his neighbors, and they haven't had any problem. He's responsible. We're not trying to hurt the responsible people. We're
And I
trying-
get it, but most laws are put in place not for the people who are responsible. Never mind.
Yeah.
We carry on.
Yeah. Because we can always bring it back if there's a.
Right. Yeah.
And as I mentioned, if you have truly unsafe discharge of firearms, I think the ordinance is probably going to address that in any event. But
And then it's still a state law, unlawful discharge of a firearm. That's a state law too.
it is, state law has more
Right.
specific requirements, you know, about distance from roadways, for example, we
Right.
discussed, other distance requirements. So yes, if they violate state law, of course, you know, the sheriff's office has additional authority to enforce that state law as well.
I'm almost confused why
If
we
they got a
even
state
doing this.
law, why
But
do we?
this is more restrictive than state law in many ways.
I know. So why are we?
Trying to impose it.
It's like we're dissecting.
No, we're dissecting something that this commissioner right here witnessed.
So what I'm saying is,
That's what I'm-
Why are we shaving it down?
We're not, like I said, it only came up because of the noise. And that's how we got.
Yeah. And I was trying to respect the acreage that he mentioned because
Absolutely.
he's speaking from history.
And I get it, but what I'm saying is.
But that was just a
what-
recommendation.
What is the reasoning behind putting this order?
Because it was not a noise, the noise.
So it's
Can I-
noise.
Can I finish?
And it's not safety.
Okay, it's not safety.
Well, I'm voting no. I can tell you, I'm voting against it.
Mr. Chairman, I have,
That's your opinion.
Because it does.
The noise order does not
How you
address.
wish,
Yeah.
okay?
The noise order is just for noise, the decibels, the
Noise.
thing about, yeah.
But
which is-
Commissioner Frazier, if you had to sit there and listen to that, go in your house, even after dark, and still hear it, and people are calling you. People in my neighborhood call, okay? They call. And you know what? You know what I tell them? There's nothing that we can do.
So why reduce?
What, and I should mention, you know, the nighttime discharge of firearms is specifically prohibited by the ordinance unless you have a license to night hunt.
That's all it was. That's how it got where it's at,
Okay.
okay?
Well, and let me say it
Now, we can
again.
take out everything else.
I'm not sure how the conversation began, but my purpose in drafting it was to ensure the public safety.
yeah.
But he's saying noise.
Well,
Well, I think that was maybe a.
No, but I think you missed what I said when I heard, when you could hear the pellets coming through the bush. Isn't that safety? I didn't have to say it. That should be automatically applied.
Mr. Chairman. And again, I'm,
But just,
don't own a gun, and I probably shouldn't say that, I don't own a gun. Probably gonna need one to get home. But 4th of July, New Year's, and a guy lives in the unincorporated area of the county, and he's celebrating at midnight, and he shoots straight up in the air.
and he should not.
And you can't do that.
Or he should not.
You should not.
He should not.
'Cause Now, that would, I'm not talking about, shooting over here and you don't want to hit your neighbor's property. We're talking about straight up
Against the
like
law.
this. And people do that. I mean, people do it. I mean, I'm not going to say they do it in Hinesville, but you hear a shot. You could say it's a firecracker.
I'll be a firecracker.
Yeah, it could be. But I mean, but people do that. So that would be more of a noise, celebration than public safety. Shooting, and then we got this distance, 2,500 feet or 1,000 feet or whatever. You're talking about buckshots going through the trees. This is straight up celebration type thing for.
It's gonna come down.
Yes, it's gonna come down, but it's probably about
And that's probably
On
that
the
irresponsible.
On the property of the person that shot it, though, wasn't it?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily?
Not necessary.
See, I told you, I don't know nothing about that kind of stuff.
Lives have been lost that way.
I shoot
mean,
you straight up.
And if I could, regardless
We
of
can
if-
trash
whether
it.
it's 2 acres or 5
Chairman.
acres or 1,000 feet or 2,500 feet,
Chairman.
I think the ordinance is intended just to codify common sense gun use. That's really what it does, and to ensure the public safety. And so I don't think anybody who's responsible using their weapon has anything really to worry about this ordinance.
We don't have to waste any more time on this. We can move on.
Chair, entertain a motion. I made a suggestion, but whatever, this is the will of the commission.
I'm confused.
You need a motion
Yes, sir.
to adopt or to
Or reject.
reject?
Adopt with revisions.
Okay.
Like Kelly said, we can offer revisions.
I think the current recommendation was to accept this, but with the acreage of 2 acres and distance requirement of 1,000 feet.
Mr. Chairman, please. And I'm gonna, I guess, clear myself of, like I said, I'm not against the public safety side of it, and that's highly understandable, and I, with respect to all that have points of view on this. It's not against the public safety. I'm all about public safety, and I respect Commissioner Stevens with the example that he is using and the need for us to have, trying to put something on the books. And I also, Kelly, respect you for bringing it forth and all the work that you putting on this. That's just, like I said, me and my part of the county. You know, it may apply differently in District 5. You know, something may be different in District 6. Like I said, having something on the book is better than having nothing. And if there's, we are leaving it open that we can come back and amend at some point, because I understand and I think once we do accept something and put it on the books, then we're gonna hear more about it from our constituents after the fact. So we maybe haven't heard anything from your constituents yet, but as soon as we sign the dotted line, then we're gonna hear it. So I'm trying to make it as less painful as possible. That's the only reason I wanted to bring up all the issues that I am. Like I said, I'm an avid hunter, I'm an avid gun owner, enthusiast, shooter. A bunch of my friends are, a bunch of my neighbors are, a bunch of my families are. It's a personal issue, I guess, with me, but I understand the bigger picture. So having something on the book is better than having nothing, and
Very well said, so now we just need to find what that something is.
And we did. In drafting the ordinance, we did our best to address the rights of gun owners to lawfully and responsibly use their weapons. And so I hope that's what this has accomplished. Even with the amendments, I think you're correct. It's something that's better than nothing. It gives law enforcement probably a needed mechanism to address unsafe firearm use. So I think it's needed, most likely. And again, we have to rely on the discretion of our law enforcement as well, as I mentioned last meeting. You know, no one's interested in you know, technically enforcing every law, only when it, you know, presents a concern, especially in this instance of public safety. I don't think law enforcement's going to go searching for violations of this ordinance.
Thank you, sir. Very detailed explanation. Now,
Mr. Chairman, what were the changes you made, or you suggested?
consistent no less than 2 acres, change that from 5 to 2, and within 1,000 feet of any schoolhouse or any dwelling or structure.
And that was the distance originally proposed.
That,
Yeah, went back to.
you say any dwelling, that includes churches?
It does. It's any structure that's suitable and intended and actually inhabited.
Okay, and it was first, was 2,500?
Originally, it was 1,000.
1,000.
After talking to law enforcement, they recommended it be increased.
Okay. And then the acreage you got it down to
2 acres.
2 acres now.
2,500 square feet.
And if you remember, that we went through a lot of iterations
Right,
there.
okay.
Originally started out just restricting it to agricultural, and I believe it was AR1. Just the least densely populated areas, we didn't have an acreage restriction. But I think after conversations with the board, we imposed an acreage restriction so that you could expand that use to residential, certain residential areas as well.
Mr. Chairman, I think we done put in enough time, and it's, the gate is not gonna be closed on this issue. It's gonna be where that we can come back and amend it, make it lesser, you know. And like Commissioner Jones said, you probably get some more opinions later on. So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we go ahead and adopt this ordinance with the changes that was recommended by the chairman, you know, to have something on the book enforceable for firing of a weapon.
This is motion, is there a second to that?
Second.
Motion and a second that we adopt the ordinance, the changes being council, no less than 2 acres and within 1,000 feet. Any further discussion? We all know that we can always come back and adjust it.
Right.
I have but then, why are we doing it at 1,000? I thought the sheriff department recommended 2,500.
They did. I think, well, you know, the general preference of law enforcement, as I mentioned, is just to confine the discharge of weapons to certain areas, you know, shooting ranges, shooting preserves, or other large tracts of land where there's little to no risk. You know, that might be inconsistent with, you know, the exercise by some residents of their rights to use their weapons.
And plus, that
I think
1,000
that's what the
feet give them a
commission's
little more
trying to-
leeway.
balance they're trying to strike.
We're not restricting them altogether. 'Cause like you say, if they are, that'll be up to law enforcement then.
If, you know, like there was street like that, once they, the deputy will walk out and say, hey man, everything all right?
And remember, especially with the changes to the backstop, which are rather specific, anyone whose target or sport shooting is gonna, is target shooting is need to have a very reliable and well-constructed backstop, or a natural backstop, as you mentioned, Commissioner.
All right. All in favor? All right, opposed?
It is not here, so that's it.
And if we get any calls from, if your constituents call and have questions or outrage, maybe they just don't quite understand the specifics of the ordinance, feel free to refer them to me, and I'll be happy to try and better explain the ordinance.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right, EMS?
Yes, sir, this is the contract you've had for some time, just provides for the management by the county of EMS services until such time as the county receives its own license to provide EMS services. There's no further comment on this ordinance, on this agreement, unless any board member has a question about it. It's been reviewed by both the administration, my office, and the hospital.
Okay.
I think everyone's in agreement.
Agreement? Chair, entertain a motion.
Second.
Second.
Can I make a quick note, Mr. Chairman? It also includes the land transfer piece, I believe, doesn't
Yes,
it, Kelly?
it
So
does.
it accomplishes the land transfer also.
Is that a half acre?
It's not big. It's both pieces. In fact, it's the piece that Commissioner Walden mentioned tonight.
It is,
Oh, okay.
okay.
I think we mentioned the county already owns the ambulances, the rolling stock, so that, there's no need to transfer that.
Okay.
All in favor?
All right, got that one.
All right. EMS school events?
Same with this one, both the administration and I have reviewed it. It provides the county, as much flexibility as we need. To the extent that we have the personnel and equipment available, we'll provide dedicated ambulance to a sporting event. But if we don't, or if an emergency should arise, it needs attention elsewhere, we're free to, leave the venue and address that emergency. So it provides us great flexibility, but yet, gives the school and their students and participants a little better
That's what they've been doing.
service.
Chair, entertain a motion.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
So move.
Motion to second. EMS school event.
Chucky.
All in favor?
I'm sorry.
EMS medical director.
Same, that's been well reviewed. I think Joey, I believe we received the final comments from the physician.
I believe we have, yes, sir.
So all the parties are in agreement, and just ask that this be approved as well.
Your motion,
Last
Mr.
note,
Chairman.
it is required under Georgia law, if you're operating
Yes.
an EMS, that you have a medical advisor, so Dr. Williams has agreed to do that.
And the services that are described in the agreement track those that are required by statute and regulation.
Okay, Mr. Chair, entertain a motion.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second.
The director, excuse me,
Yes, sir. Medical director.
School grid,
This is a,
the managed EMS services, that's the
Okay.
main actors.
All right, the medical director is, you said Mr. Williams?
Dr. Williams.
Dr. Jonathan Williams is gonna do it.
He's employed by the hospital,
He's actually,
or you're employed?
contracted
as
by
a
the
group
hospital.
is.
He's contracted by the hospital.
But we will compensate him for being the medical director. Dr. Borkway had been doing it and wanted to step down.
Right,
And so Dr. Williams agreed to do it.
right.
Good? All in favor? All right. All right, we heard from Reggie already. Is that all for you, sir?
Thank you, folks. I believe so.
All right, okay, Kelly.
Thanks for your patience.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you
Sorry.
for your patience.
can we get an update on the economic development?
Are you adding to the agenda, sir?
Man,
Get
I've been,
Mr. Wells up
there
here.
we go.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Evening.
All right, Kelly, thank you.
No,
Yeah.
Clint, man, you got a meeting in the morning, don't you? May as well spend the night up here. Yeah.
Hey, he been out there, hey, Mr. Brown, he did walk the woods this morning with the mosquitoes.
Yeah,
He did walk the woods in the water this morning with the mosquitoes for me.
I've been wet and cussed out and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Part of it. But I'm back here in front of y'all for the grapple truck. We're redone. We sent out new proposals, and Freightliner Savannah was the high score.
I don't have that.
Make a recommendation, we go with Freightliner Savannah.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we go with Freightliner of Savannah for the new Apple truck for $164,910.
Now, this is the one you need.
Is that the
This is
one,
it.
Freightliner?
This is
Wait,
it.
line, the next line,
This is it.
the 171.
All right,
Oh, I got it.
you got a
Am I reading
motion?
it right?
Need a second, yes, sir.
Second? Second.
I do have a question, Mr.
Well,
Chairman.
that's different on here.
Oh, on one page it's 171, on the
Oh, I'm
other
sorry.
page it's 160.
It might be a mistake on my part.
Oh, my.
No, you didn't.
Is it the 164,910?
That's what it say on the quote, on the second
You
page.
look at the very last page, it
On
has a
the
different
next
number.
page it
299.
says 100.
It's 164.
What, is it 164, 299, or
Yeah,
64.90?
299.
299, okay.
I made a mistake.
No, this page.
What page? Let me see.
The 164, 299 is the correct number.
164, 299?
Yes, sir. That's what, yeah, that's what Ms. Mosley's saying.
But that one there is from Roberts.
Yeah, that's what's Robert Truck Center.
No, what, I'm seeing something,
That should be
I'm seeing something different than y'all.
Oh,
What you looking at?
this page and then this.
Okay.
I don't have that.
You know, we have 3 pages.
There's a,
Freightliner was the highest.
Okay.
Well, I got 3 pages, but the second page is saying, is the score.
Freightliner it is the 171 number.
171 number?
Yes,
Not the 164.
right.
Right.
Well, what's Robert's number?
Roberts is 164.
164.99.
Transcribing there, sir.
Okay.
The numbers was just a flip-flop.
is it the numbers or the
It was transcribed wrong.
gender?
It was transcribed wrong, ma'am.
Okay, so
It's the 170.
171 Freightliner of Savannah. I
Yes, ma'am.
correct that motion to
171, 816.
171, 816
You with Commissioner Fraser?
Freightliner of
Freightliner
Savannah.
of Savannah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's one.
Okay.
I mean, what,
For what?
I mean, I see what you're talking about. I'm just,
I have a
It's
question,
171.
Mr. Chairman.
okay. So why
What-
are we buying the more expensive?
Yeah, that was my question.
Well, the deal is Roberts Truck Center, we've had some issues with them and their maintenance, and they won't even tell me when they might could get me a truck. The last thing was 464 days, and Freightliner can have me one in February. Is the reason going with them.
And where is Roberts Truck Center located?
They got one in Pooler or Garden City, and the one in Richmond Hill.
One in Richmond Hill.
And Richmond Hill
Right
stays
off
back.
144 down there.
Yeah, 144 out there.
Yeah.
So what type of issues
The maintenance department, we had some
Maintenance
fire
taking
trucks
it
up there and a
back.
couple other things that just didn't go well.
That's the reason too, they were scored on proposals. So under those proposal criteria, one was delivery of truck or delivery of unit. You know, and you got a score for that. You got scored based on serviceability and history on service. And so that's the reason it was done on proposal versus low bid. Sorry.
No, I'm just, I don't know.
I saw they had the higher score just when I just saw
Well, he
that.
has the money in his budget,
Oh, yeah.
but, yeah. it's
Oh, yeah, they got that money in solid waste.
7,000, but, yeah, Roberts Truck Center,
And like I say, we've had some issues with them, but just the main thing is the ability to get the truck.
Right.
They won't even tell me, the best they'll tell me is, I think it was 464 days.
I gonna
That's
get
a
worse.
year and
Then
a
that's
half.
another 90 days at the body shop.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
You rather pay a little more to get
yeah, I mean, that's,
get your vehicle you need.
Get it up.
right.
All right. Everybody clear?
Well, I guess my question,
Are they in business?
Mr. Brown, when there is, when we do take the high bid, is there a percentage that?
Not based on bid at all. So under the Georgia law, you can buy equipment or make purchases either under straight bid, in which you're locked into either taking it or rejecting it, or proposal method. So proposal method, there is no percentages involved with the bid. The bid only counts a certain percentage point or certain points in your total score.
So, and I guess, based on what Mr. Wells said, Roberts basically said, here's my bid, but all this other stuff that y'all want, I can't do none of that. Like,
Meaning?
I mean, you know, I can't give you the truck, I'm not good at
Maintenance.
services, I'm not good at this other stuff, but here's my number.
He gave me the number, and I think on the bid, it actually says with the date for delivery just to be determined.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even a,
He didn't even put a date down.
and the last ones we done, I think it was 464 days for a delivery date, plus the time in the body shop.
Okay,
Okay.
that's all I had.
Right. But with road projects, we have to,
Road projects are different. Road projects are classified as public works projects. And so under state law, they have to be awarded based on low bid.
yeah. But, I mean, sometimes with that, it's the same thing. Not good quality. Companies doing.
All in favor? All right, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry to
Thank
keep
you.
you out so late.
I'll see you in the
We
morning,
can't pay overtime.
see you in the morning at 8:30. 8:30 on Arnold Drive.
We need to sign an excuse for you?
8:30 on Arnold Drive. Okay.
Oh, ain't you supposed to be me at 8:31?
No, man.
Golly. Let me say this to the Board of Commissioners. I know we're running a little over, but I
We're
don't
way
mind
over.
telling something about him. His crew, with some of the water problem that we got on the east end, we've got some of it taken care of. And those are some good workers, but I'm gonna say to this board, and I'll say it out loud, he needs some help.
Good help's hard to
He
find.
needs some help, and I don't know where he gonna find it at, but
Yeah, I mean,
find good people, and I don't know, we're gonna have to do something with some salaries.
Yeah, we
we've been
have to
advertising,
do that.
just ain't getting a lot of applicants.
Right.
Commissioner Jones, did you get my email about the estimates for Sam Quarterman and all that?
Yes, sir. I wanted to, well, I think we were back and forth with the emails. I wanted to get with you one day that you have some free time and let's do a walkthrough so I can physically see what you see.
Yeah.
And make a final determination on the end game on that.
Yep.
Whenever you get some free time.
No, that's just whenever you get time, call me and I'll make myself available.
Thank you for everything you do. You've been following up on my issues pretty good. I got
He does.
constituents happy, believe that or not. We've been getting good comments from what we've been accomplishing since I've gotten here, and thank you for everything you've done to get me to this point.
No problem. Glad I could help.
All right.
That's how we know him. Thank you, sir. Announcements?
Well, we got one more item on the agenda, sir.
Do? What are
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, the
Oh, I sure did.
probation
Probation
agreement for
service,
Superior Court.
Superior Court,
So
yes.
we gotten a call from the
Track
chief
that.
judge. Chief Judge had examined contracting opportunities for folks that they have to put on probation. This is Superior Court. and he sent us a letter asking the commission to acquiesce in the Superior Court engagement, which they've been using them of these folks, Southeast Corrections. They had previously been using the other company the state court was using, but that company's really gone out of business now. And so he needs a company to offer services to Superior Court. So really, under state law, they make the choice. They just ask for the commission to agree, just like the state court. He's just asking the commission to please honor his request to have a probation company to help Superior Court, and that it be Southeast Corrections.
Okay, Chair, entertain a motion.
So move.
Second. Motion is second. All in favor? All right, sir.
Only other quick announcement, we got a big meeting next time. We're gonna be going over a lot of stuff, but the other thing, just to let you know, is a workshop, if you wanna mention that, about a cancellation of the workshop.
Cancellation.
The community workshop,
Yeah.
based on the COVID numbers both here and in Glenn County.
What feedback did we get?
No negative feedback. In fact, we gotten a couple other calls wanting to know if that was gonna happen. So we were able to say, yes, we did.
Yeah.
Oh, feedback from the place? No penalty at all,
No penalty at all?
which was
Hallelujah.
very, very good.
Okay, all right.
Good.
What's being canceled?
Joe, I have
The
The workshop,
countywide,
community workshop.
Mr. Chairman.
and council. Joey, we talked, you and I talked one day last week about, Cooper Lane. Did we get that, what we needed to get, you know?
I'll follow back up. I don't know whether they've gotten the easement or not.
Okay,
Right.
but we just gonna get the people down there, I
We
mean,
were,
they
I think
want it.
we've already taken care of the emergency problem.
Okay.
And, yeah, we were gonna follow up with a permanent solution.
Okay, good,
I will double check, though.
okay.
y'all gonna get me in trouble with Commissioner Fraser.
Just one for the media, I guess, whatever we want to call it. You know, we've always been following up each year with the Commissioner's Trophy. And, you know, it's that time of game, but we don't have a trophy now, so do we wish to continue that or discontinue it? How
think
was
we
the
should. I
trophy
mean,
purchased? I don't remember.
Oh, they look forward to that.
I think it's pretty good for the community.
Yeah, they love that. We should order another one.
Why don't we have a trophy? Because it's
Well, the
retired
trophy finally went to
to Liberty?
Liberty, I think. Yeah, it went to Liberty now, so that one's going to Liberty.
We get another one just like it,
Yeah.
and then we kind of like start
All
over.
over, so
Yeah,
I just happened to thought about it the other day.
When is that game, do you know?
Is it,
I don't have a
Like in
clue.
2 weeks, I think.
is it September?
But I thought.
Definitely not-
initially
Yeah, let's
whenever
do-
we-
Definitely not this
whenever we
weekend.
met, We said if it gets retired, we were just gonna order a new one, correct?
That's what I
What
thought.
was that,
Keep it
Commissioner?
going.
We've ordered one before.
Keep it going.
Yeah, I think we should keep it going. If, wherever we got that one from, we get another one, and it's kind of like a 3-year, is it every 3 years, or if you win it for 3
You
straight
read
years?
it 3
I think it's right.
consecutive years or something like that. It goes to that school. That's how it
But
works.
so like if no one ever wins it for 3 straight years, then we never have to
Just
buy
keep-
another trophy?
Right.
Right.
It keeps going back and forth.
Yeah, it keeps going.
Then finally, you know, like I said, Bradwell had, or whatever school is, I guess Liberty High. finally.
Okay.
So that's where it's at now.
Did Bob order that? Who ordered that?
We probably ordered it. Like, we'll see about getting that. Yes, sir.
I don't even think it's a trophy shop in Hinesville. Did we get it from Hinesville?
sure.
I know the one that used to be over there closed down.
Yeah.
The one that used to be on General
Scribbin.
Ribbon.
Scrivener's closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, people like checks more than.
Jimmy can tell you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wherever to get them from.
Or the girls.
All right, any other announcements, sir?
No, sir.
No? Anything else for good of the order, Commissioner?
That's-
All right,
Make a motion, we adjourn. I'll beat you to it.
So move.
second,
Second.
all in favor? Commissioner